For the masses. For the masses. Yeah. For the masses.
Good troubleshoot, good troubleshoot, good troubleshoot, good troubleshoot.
For
the Soul Foundation.
Yeah.
The Soul Foundation.
For the grifters. Yeah. grifters. For the masses.
We the people have to come together. We the people have to come together.
For the masses.
We the people have to come together. We the people have to come together.
Hi everyone, here and around the world. Tall white, Nordic, tall white, Nordic. Hi everyone, here and around the world. Tall white, Nordic, tall white, Nordic. The tall white extraterrestrials. Nordic, the tall white extraterrestrials. Nordic, the tall white extraterrestrials. Nordic, tall white, Nordic, tall white, Nordic.
UFO disclosure. UFO craft and bodies. UFO disclosure. UFO craft and bodies. UFO disclosure. UFO craft and bodies. UFO disclosure. UFO craft and bodies.
People who might not buy everything you're saying, who are skeptics, have said over and over again, he has no first-hand knowledge. He has no first-hand knowledge. Maybe we shouldn't believe you. When you say you have first-hand knowledge, maybe we shouldn't believe you.
Legally, the fact that we're not alone. We've recovered material and we've recovered documents. And beyond that, the fact that we're not alone. We've recovered material and we've recovered documents. And beyond that, ontologically shocking but also uniting. Any evidence. Ontologically shocking but also uniting. Any evidence. I'm an intel guy. Ontologically shocking but also uniting. Any evidence.
Yeah.
Ontologically shocking but also uniting. Any evidence. I'm an intel guy. Daniel P. Sheehan, classified. Daniel P. Sheehan, classified. Daniel P. Sheehan, classified. Daniel P. Sheehan, classified.
Crash retrieval operation. Psychological phenomenon. Crash retrieval operation. Psychological phenomenon.
The death of UFO transparency. The death of UFO transparency. The death of UFO transparency. The death of UFO transparency.
For the masses. Says
ontologically shocking but also uniting. Ontologically shocking but also uniting. Ontologically shocking but also uniting. Ontologically shocking but also uniting.
Of UFO transparency. The death of UFO transparency. The death of UFO transparency. The death of UFO transparency.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. So I took the weekend off this weekend of the show, and during those few precious days off, I try to disconnect from as much of the internet, specifically UFO Twitter, as possible. But I began seeing a lot of messages pop on my phone, hearing those bells and whistles and notifications of emails and Twitter DMs, Facebook PMs, and more about a new so-called UFO whistleblower. And I thought, oh, great, here we go again. We were promised more than a year ago from people pushing the Dave Grush false narrative. By the way, it has now been 323 days since Dave Grush made his initial claims, and we've covered them ad nauseum before. The basic claim, the narrative, is that the United States government is in control or possession of alien spacecraft, recovered alien bodies. They are back engineering alien technology and recovering crashed alien vehicles on Earth. This has been a narrative for quite some time now, since at least the 1970s, when people started making claims of crashed alien spacecraft. And when we get into these claims, you know, I get that people get upset with me for expressing my opinion that there is no verifiable or empirical real evidence of alien crash retrievals or alien bodies, alien spacecraft, alien back engineering. And you know, I understand people getting upset with me for being what they perceive to be dismissive, but it's important to note that I do not do research here by proclamation. We do a thorough job of investigating these stories, and you may recall that we did an entire two-part series. I think we covered 14 crash retrieval cases. And then, of course, we did a 10-hour-long deep dive into the Roswell event with all the world's leading experts, authors, and researchers on Roswell. And, you know, I came away from those research projects with having been fully informed, and with a fully informed mind, drew my conclusions. And my conclusions are that alien crash retrievals are stories. What we get is stories. We never get actual real evidence, you know. And some people have been nasty to me and say, well, what do you want to see, a body? Yeah, if you're going to claim there's bodies, I want to see one, don't you? So we did an extensive research into each of these cases. And essentially what we learn is that these cases are essentially mythology. And many of these crash retrieval cases have similarities, they're all unique. One of them in particular was put forth by literal known convicted con artists. You know, that might be a red flag that story is not true or not real. And now we've got Christopher Mellon referencing one of those completely fake hoaxed UFO single source case problematic witness on top of it in the form of the Kingman, Arizona alleged UFO crash and body retrievals. But back to our new whistleblower, so-called whistleblower. And I'm going to use the term alleged whistleblower, because, you know, I've expressed my opinion here before about Dave Grush. Calling David Grush a whistleblower is a dilution and misuse of the term whistleblower. Whistleblowers have evidence. Whistleblowers come with evidence of their claims. They don't simply tell stories. But somehow in the UFO community, the term whistleblower has been abused. After all, according to people like David Wilcock, Corey Goode was a whistleblower about the secret space program. No, he wasn't. It turns out that he was a con artist grifter who made up stories about a secret space program for money. And that had become, allegedly, and that's become very clear due to his recent court cases in which he had to testify under oath and admitted he'd never even been to space. Previous people have been called whistleblowers who never proved any of their claims. And again, I'm not speaking from ignorance here when I say that no, I'm going to say this very clearly, no UFO whistleblower, past or present, has ever provided empirical proof of their claims. None of them. And again, back to the research side of things, I don't believe in research by proclamation. So when I tell you that no UFO whistleblower in history has ever provided real, tangible evidence or proof of their claims, that is a factual statement. And again, we did an exhaustive research project into previous UFO whistleblowers, from Corey Goode to Lou Elizondo to Clifford Stone and more. All they did was tell stories, and none of them ever provided any evidence of their claims. They never proved anything. So when a new person steps forward and claims the title of a UFO whistleblower, I think it's fair and reasonable to be cautious when evaluating their claims. After all, history is our greatest teacher, and what history proves to us is that all of these UFO crash retrieval cases, all they are is stories. That's it. There's no proof or evidence of them. And when we get to UFO whistleblowers, it's very similar. They all do the same thing. They overpromise, they underdeliver, they all say more information is going to come out and prove my claims. It never happens. Look at Dave Grush. We are at 323 days since Dave Grush made his initial claims, which have been very similar to previous UFO whistleblowers, and none of Grush's claims have been proven to be true. But many of his claims have so far proven to be completely and totally fake stories, like the Mussolini UFO case and other things that he talked about. I also find it incredibly interesting, and this is worthy of note, and I think we should talk about this and keep this in mind. Some of these so-called whistleblowers are from high-ranking military and intelligence sources, like this latest guy. However, isn't it interesting that none of them ever have any new information? All they have is regurgitated information from the internet, which is something that doesn't make sense to me. If you're involved and you have these high classifications and you're in the intelligence community and you have all this access to special access programs and top secret programs, shouldn't you have some new evidence if you had this high-ranking clearance? How come they come forward and all they do is recycle regurgitated stories from the 70s or 80s or 90s? That you and I are, if you're sufficiently educated into the UFO lore, mythology, and history, we have the same information. So what are you blowing the whistle on? The fact that you found some story on the internet that I can find with your high-ranking military credentials? This makes zero sense whatsoever. But I find it incredibly interesting. So this new person is named Jason Sands, and we're going to get into some of his claims because I think that Mr. Sands jumped the gun. In fact, I was just talking to Spooky previous to the broadcast who said something similar. Like this guy was somehow he got a deal to be James Fox's new so-called whistleblower, which is kind of a joke. James Fox had previously mentioned that he spoke to some of the whistleblowers that have gone to Arrow. Here's something else to keep in mind. This person, Jason Sands, claims that he was interviewed by Arrow, but Arrow said there's no empirical evidence or proof of alien technology, alien crash retrievals, or alien bodies. So why are we even listening to this guy, Jason Sands? Because he's already given all the information he can to Arrow, and they came to the conclusion essentially that maybe he's mistaken, or maybe, he heard secondhand accounts and he has no evidence or proof, or at least it appears he offered no evidence or proof to Arrow or any of the other people he talked to, or they couldn't have been so bold in a public statement saying that they interviewed these witnesses and there's no evidence to support their fantastical claims. And isn't it interesting that this person, Mr. Sands, is apparently involving many people? He, saying that Lou Elizondo is his hero and he worked with Dave Grush. None of these people have come out either for or against his claims. I find that extremely interesting. If this man is completely not credible, then wouldn't you correct the record? Like say, hey, I may have worked with this guy, but I'm not co-signing his claims. It's like the Wackadoo prover maneuver. One Wackadoo in the form of David Grush came out with an incredible amount of stories and no evidence. And now we've got a new Wackadoo who is essentially saying Dave Grush is the real deal. And Dave Grush's claims are true. And he equally has no evidence. You know, this is a problem. And this stuff only happens in the UFO community. I don't understand evidence-free whistleblowers. Imagine if, you know, like Julian Assange had just made claims and never provided the proof or the evidence. Nobody would care. Imagine if Chelsea Manning or Edward Snowden just made claims and said, hey, the government, you know, the government is definitely surveilling us, but it's classified project, so I can't give you the evidence. No, they showed their evidence and they took their hits. They, you know, showed their evidence and they took whatever consequences came for violating NDAs or security clearances or whatever. But in the UFO world, we get people hiding behind NDAs, and we've heard from Arrow, there's no UAP or UFO specific NDAs, none. So these people can say whatever they want, essentially, as long as they don't violate, you know, national security, I suppose. But they refuse to, instead telling a great deal of stories. And this new guy, oh man, this new guy is quite a, Jason Sands is, listen, apparently or allegedly, Mr. Sands is one of the information sources that David Grush relied upon. And to me, an outsider looking in, Jason Sands is a wackadoo who's telling ridiculous stories that are provably false. And he is drawing from existing UFO and conspiracy land stories and mythology. He claims he was part of the 20 and Back program. Where have we heard that before? Oh, yeah, we heard that from Corey Good. But before we get to that, let me share with you, because James Fox is apparently this guy, this new UFO whistleblower, is in a new upcoming documentary from James Fox. And here's James Fox talking about, oh, let me put my fair use banner up here first, sorry, and fix my background. Someday I'm going to remember to do that before I share my screen, so I apologize. I said this before, and I'm going to say it again. James Fox is about as credible as a crackhead holding a gas can asking you for gas money. I'm sorry. I know some people like him. Maybe he made one good film, but the rest of them were garbage. And actually, if you go back and watch that film that people credit him for doing a great job on, that's filled with garbage too. It's just that it was too new. You know, you have to digest and understand that a lot of the people he interviewed, even in the first film, are wackadoos. And Mr. Fox has also sold some provably ridiculous stories. You know, he was all chips in on the Phoenix Lights, which was basically a story about flares, misidentification. He sold the Virginia, I always call it the vagina alien story, not once, not twice, but 3 times. He sold it to the Travel Channel. I think he sold it to another television channel and redid the story with nothing new. And then he made a documentary and redid the story. And the only thing new is that he had new anonymous people. So nobody can verify or prove that the story is true or not, because he's putting people in shadow and putting voice disguisers and claiming that these are high-ranking military officials or these are original witnesses to the case, but nobody else is allowed to interview them. That's the hallmark of a con artist grifter. And I'm going to put this out there. It's just my opinion. That whole Virginia alien documentary, especially with the anonymous witnesses, it looked like theater to me. It looked like stagecraft. It looked like somebody creating the illusion of real witnesses to bolster the story. Since he had already sold that story twice and had no new information, is it a big stretch that for money he might have invented some witnesses and just hired some actors and handed them a script, allegedly? I mean, I think that's very possible. And, of course, James Fox is a UFO profiteering whore scumbag, because he promoted that vagina alien story claiming that he had in his possession, or was about to have in his possession, video of the alleged vagina alien creature. But then you buy the documentary and find out there's nothing. There's no video of an alien in that video, in that documentary. So I believe that he overhyped, over-sensationalized, and under-delivered, leading people to believe that there was going to be footage of an alien creature in the documentary. But then you buy the documentary, and what you get is the big letdown. Oh, there's some guy in shadow with a voice disguiser that claims he worked for the military, and all the alien stories are true. But we don't know his name. We can't vet him. We can't verify he is who he says he was. We're just supposed to trust a UFO profiteering whore in the form of James Fox is telling us the truth, and this is a real witness. I call bullshit. James Fox is a garbage peddler. And the fact that this is his new thing, this guy telling stories about 20 and back trips to Mars and, standing 3 feet from an alien. But anyway, here's James Fox. This is fair use. This is a transformative work. Let me get that banner up. We are educating the public, and this is certainly fair use. This is a transformative work. We're educating the public. We're going to be critiquing and discussing this video and using it for educational purposes. Here's James Fox saying, yeah, I'm getting some of these people on camera. And guess what? This latest so-called whistleblower is one of them.
However, what I'm doing and what many others are doing, we're meeting with the intel folks on the inside that have already gone to testify to AARO, which is run by Sean Kirkpatrick. It's the new UAP task force. And they're going on camera with people like myself.
And so this person, Jason Sands, apparently already went to AARO and spilled the beans, but AARO still came to the conclusion that there's no evidence of aliens, alien crash retrievals, alien spacecraft, or anything alien. But that won't stop James Fox from trying to cash in on that guy.
And I've gotten a number of them on camera already. And they're disclosing not the classified parts, but what they've disclosed basically behind closed doors. In other words, I'm providing the names of the programs. I'm providing the names of the individuals involved with the programs.
Yes, and we saw in the AARO report that many of the people that went to AARO and said, here's the alien crash retrieval, here's the program name, here's the location, were completely and totally mistaken. And those programs had nothing to do with aliens or alien technology. They were simply mistaken. So who cares, James Fox? But hey, you got to fill your pockets with UFO dollars somehow, don't you?
The locations of these programs. And in fact, if you get me the classifications, I can walk you in the door. So the clearances. So if the government...
And AARO had all clearances. They could have walked through any door. They found no evidence from these people. And what you get is what has been described as a self-licking ice cream cone. Same group of people. Now we have this new guy, Jason Sands, and he's telling everybody that Lou Elizondo is his hero. So Jason Sands' hero is a fake Pentagon UFO program director that lied to the New York Times, allegedly lied to TTSA investors about building a spaceship and having alien crash retrieval materials in their possession, and more. That's his hero, a lying scumbag. Great. You got to love this. This is great. The shady world of UFOs.
Is not going to release it. We're going to release this to the public so they'll know that this is going on. So we're just trying to force the government hands. And look, there's a lot of elected officials like Senator Gillibrand and Rubio, Mark Warner.
Many of the elected officials have pivoted and are all but running from the UFO topic now. Perhaps after having been informed and educated that many of the people making these claims are not to be trusted. They are not reliable witnesses.
Geiger, Andre Carson, that are really batting for us, that are really, they need our support.
Not anymore. All you got left is a couple of wackadoos, Gillibrand and, Burchett. You got Burchett and you got Anna Paulina Luna, who don't sit on any of the committees to get really good classified information. So who cares?
But they're going to bat. They're not trying to cover this up. They're trying to actually get this open. But the intelligence agencies are being very difficult. There's nothing in it for them to share what they have. And there's a lot of amazing photographic evidence.
Oh, this is on breaking
behind
points.
That wall that we're talking.
And these breaking points, man, I used to think, at least I believed when breaking points first started, that it was about oh, let's have news coverage from both sides of the aisle. That's a good idea. But these two are idiots when it comes to UFO coverage, because this gentleman, I can't recall his name. He's that forgettable. He is very close friends with Jeremy Corbell and just believes anything Jeremy Corbell says is true. He does no research on his piss poor guests' proven track record of selling completely and totally fake alien and UFO stories. Yet, you know, he wants to jump in and cash in on the UFO topic. You got to love people that want to make the UFO dollars, but don't want to do any of the UFO work. And by the way, I'll put my track record and years long, you know, content creation of good, fact-based, evidence-based, research-based research into these stories and topics against people like this any day of the week. They don't care. They just get whoever they can, including James Fox. Why don't you ask James Fox how many times he sold the vagina alien story? Why did he lie, essentially, and claim that he was going to be in possession of a video of aliens, right? Why didn't you ask him why he over sensationalizes these things to sell his shit movies? Oh, that's right. They didn't do any research.
Talking about as well.
It's so frustrating, James. I feel the same way that you do. I hear the exact same thing. And the overwhelming thing that I hear from inside the intel community is they're terrified because they just don't know what's going on. And they don't want to admit that to all of us. They're terrified.
That's exactly right. So, you know, I just talked to Christopher Mellon, who's also got clearances, who's seen the satellite. Yeah,
and here's more unverifiable claims. Christopher Mellon has seen the satellite crystal clear images of alien spacecraft.
Data, photographic evidence. And he said, well, I'm only talking about it because Ratcliffe talked about it. But I'll tell you right now, it's amazing. And I said, oh, Christopher, please, because I'm friends with Christopher. Can you give me a little more?
Yeah, they're all friends. It's a big club. It's the UFO Grift Squad. It's a big club, and I ain't in it.
Or he's like, well, if you imagine like full 4K of craft, it's about as good as that. And it's just behind that level of secrecy. So it's only a matter of time where some of that stuff's coming out. I'm very confident. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, when. Never. We're never going to see the 4K images. These people overpromise and underdeliver constantly. And, you know, I think it's tragic that they have to overpromise and underdeliver in the way that they do. All right. We're going to get, pardon me. Thought I had a sneeze here. We're going to get to some of Jason Sands' actual claims. But before we do that, just to verify that indeed Mr. Fox indeed interviewed this man for his new documentary projects. This is a screenshot from one of those interviews, and you can clearly see the name Jason Sands is displayed here. So, and somebody's arguing with me because I said, James Fox claimed he got on-camera interviews with some of this, quote, whistleblowers, unquote. He just forgot to tell us that they were talking about blue aliens, 20 and back, and tall white aliens, all 100% proven stories of fiction from profit-seeking hoaxers and liars. Somebody's in the comments arguing with me. There's always going to be arguments, but we're going to get into the evidence and proof that the tall white aliens are a lie, and so are the blue avians, and so is the 20 and back program. Those are all works of fiction that were put forth by UFO profiteering hoaxers, liars, grifters, scammers, and UFO whores to make UFO dollars. There was no proof or evidence of any of those things, and in fact, we can pick those things apart. The tall white aliens came from Charles Hall, another person who claimed to be an Air Force member, who's made a living for decades now telling stories of meeting tall white aliens while he was an Air Force weather observer at the Melon range. However, no one ever did their due diligence and actually checked, because it turns out that Charles Hall was never even in the Air Force. He was not a weather observer. He was not in the Air Force. He lied about his military credentials to sell fake alien and UFO stories. So every time you hear somebody mention tall white aliens, it's fruit from a poison tree. You would not eat fruit from a poison tree, but in the UFO community, no one does their due diligence. Nobody actually vets the claims. Things just get accepted as real because nobody does the work to verify the claims being made. And in the case of Charles Hall and the tall white aliens, of which Jason Sands essentially is claiming to have met a tall white alien, I call bullshit, because it's fruit from a poison tree. And why is it that high-ranking Air Force or military officers or intelligence officers are regurgitating fake stories that we here, having done our research and due diligence, have proven to be fake stories? Does it make sense then that years later, after Charles Hall, the fake Air Force weather observer, claimed to see tall white aliens at the Nellis Range, that now this Jason Sands is claiming that he saw tall white aliens? He stood 3 feet from one. No, he is running with fake stories from the past that weren't true 20 years ago. But what, now they're true because now we have a real Air Force guy saying them? And at the very least, we can verify that his military, he did work for the Air Force. But many of the things that he said have turned out to be false. Let me see if I can find the document that he released, because that gets very interesting. Oh, but before we do that, let's get to the 20 and back. So Mr. Jason Sands claims that he was part of the 20 and back program, but he got thrown out of it. Now he's backpedaling. So, here's what I think happened. I think this person educated themselves on UFO stories and mythologies on the internet, and then start telling his own versions of those stories, integrating parts of other people's stories into his own story. But that's problematic when you pick scumbags like Corey Goode to steal material from. The 20 and back was not originally from Corey Goode. It had been previously, those claims have been made by previous people. And Corey Goode essentially stole people's ideas and then claimed them as his own, even going so far as to copyright. I have this from, oh no, I'm not going to read that. Sorry. We're going to get, Randy Kramer was one of the people. Remember him, the fake Space Marine super soldier who was selling med beds to people? In other words, a con artist. He talked about 20 and back. And then also somebody wrote a book called The Mars Chronicles. This is from the year 2000. These things included having worked on Mars for the US government, remote viewing, time travel, age regression by 20 years, being given false memories to cover his time on Mars, abductions, and other experiences. The person who wrote the Mars Chronicles only had stories, never proved anything. Though his stories were incredibly fantastical. It's a book that was a free PDF. At least I give them credit for not profiting from the stories. But the 20 and back originated from the Mars Chronicles, essentially. And Randy Kramer also talked about this, who's a proven fake Space Marine. He was never in the Marines. He was never in space. And he was selling people superpowers a few months ago. You could get psychic powers for $100 a month from Randy Kramer. Then, of course, Corey Goode picks it up, claims it as his own, the 20 and back, even copywriting it. But then he has to admit under oath during his depositions, that he made up those stories. And 20 and back was his creation. So we've got Jason Sands claiming that he did a 20 and back after several proven grifting scumbag liars who were essentially vultures out to fleece the UFO and alien interested, community members out of every dollar they could. Now Jason Sands is claiming that he was part of the 20 and back. So do you see the problem here? We've got Jason Sands making claims that he did it. He was part of the 20 and back. But when you research the 20 and back, it's one person that put out a free PDF and never proved anything. Then you've got Randy Kramer, who claimed that he battled insectoid aliens on Mars with literal weapons that came from the video game Halo, and that he got his arms and legs blown off. But it's all good because they just put him in a med bed and they regrew his arms and his legs. And in the space of an afternoon. Again, all evidence-free stories. And then, of course, Corey Goode spent 8 years telling evidence-free stories. First, he said he did a 20 and back. Then he needed more material for the Cosmic Disclosure television show, so he suddenly remembered another 20 and back. Then he needed more material again, so he did 3 20 and backs. He spent 60 years in space, Corey Goode claimed in his original testimony on Cosmic Disclosure. But then during a case, a legal case, he was questioned by the defendant's excellent lawyer, Mr. Webb, who went after him about whether these things were true or works of fiction. And here's what we get.
Sure. What part of the 20 and back is dramatization and not real?
Well, the 20 and back itself is my creation. That's why I trademarked it, and that's why it's a part of my intellectual property.
So does that mean it's not real? It's dramatization?
What does it matter if it's real or not?
I'm asking you whether it was dramatization
It's
or...
been a while since I watched this crap.
It's a real part of my dream or delusion, of whatever you want to call it. I created all of this as on top of the training that I did have and the experiences.
I created all of this.
I extrapolated this stuff out and created it.
Okay, but it's part of your dream or delusion, you call it, correct?
With whatever y'all want to call it.
Well, what do you call it?
I call it my intellectual property.
Okay. And you state you've gone away for over 20 years and you come back and you haven't aged, correct?
I'm sorry for the lag.
Well, the 20 and back story in the book is that you're taking off planet, you serve 20 years, your age regressed, and you're put back in time.
So is that what Jason Sands, when he claims he was part of a 20 and back, is that what he's claiming, that he time traveled? Jason Sands is claiming that he time traveled? We need some clarification on this stuff. He's already backpedaling because I think Jason Sands went, oh, I stole material from a scumbag who admitted in court that he made all that shit up. Damn it. I thought people believed in the 20 and back. That's my speculation of what happened here, because he's certainly backpedaling like crazy. Great. So that's enough of that. It's enough to say that the 20 and back is a work of fiction invented by an alleged UFO con artist who made up fake stories in order to personally profit and sued everybody. And that didn't go well for Corey Goode. Now he's being countersued by Gaia. And I don't think that we're going to be hearing much more out of Corey Goode, which is one of the reasons why we no longer cover his nonsense here. Because how long do I want to spend on a secret space grifter who lied about everything for 8 years? If you spend 8 years of your life lying to people for money, then you're a fucking scumbag. And I don't even want to have you, I don't even want to cover you on my show. And by the way, a lot of the things that we are seeing with the toxic nature of things in the UFO community, we saw all of that with Corey Goode already. There was doxing campaigns against his critics. There was campaigns to harass, threaten, intimidate his critics. Corey Goode admitted under oath that he paid his then manager to get pictures of one of his critics' houses with, so that he could be intimidated and so that they could shut him up. It was pretty toxic. And the fact that this Mr. Sands is using essentially Corey Goode material is very troubling, because Corey Goode's material is admittedly fake. He admitted himself he made this stuff up. Then, of course, we tack on to that Mr. Sands claims that he met a tall white alien and stood 3 feet from one. And the whole story of the tall white aliens comes from a fake Air Force weather observer that was never in the Air Force. And we've proven that here. We went to the ends of the earth trying to find his military records and verify his military credentials. The National Personnel Records Center, no record of him having been in the Air Force. So his entire story starts with a lie. Jason Sands picked 2 of the worst people to borrow material from for his own stories. And by the way, this is my speculation. I don't know that he stole this, or borrowed this from these people, but we can just through basic research find out who popularized these ideas. And certainly Charles Hall, the fake Air Force military whistleblower, popularized the stories of the tall white aliens. He was the first to do so. And certainly Corey Goode, although not inventing 20 and back, he claimed he did, and then copyrighted it and started suing anybody that used the term 20 and back. It's my hope that Mr. Sands does not receive a subpoena anytime soon, or a cease and desist, or he doesn't have legal problems from using Corey Goode's apparently copyrighted intellectual property. So next, we're going to get into the actual spaces that this person did. And isn't it, but before we do that, hold on. I had one thing that I certainly wanted to share, which was the, yes, let me get that. There's a document that he shared, which would seem to indicate that it verifies he had Air Force military service, but there's some troubling things on that. We have detailed here on this program several times before where a high-ranking intelligence officer entered the UFO community and started telling alien stories. But there's a real problem that I have with this, in that there have been several people that were high-ranking military or intelligence officers who came in to the UFO community, and then we find out that they have training in things like information warfare. They have training in things like psychological operations. And it would appear that now we have another one, because Mr. Sands has training in psychological operations, as shown in this document which he shared. I know this is difficult to see. You're going to have to trust me. You can follow me on Twitter, and this is shared on my Twitter. So Mr. Sands had basic military training. He had NCO prep course. He had NCO leadership school, NCO academy. And then here's where it gets interesting. Mr. Sands also had training in joint psychological operations course. So this so-called new UFO whistleblower has training in PsyOps. Not suspicious at all, especially when we add all the other spooks and intelligence people. I call them alphabet soup people, because we've had, oh, and by the way, there's rumors that Mr. Sands, he won't release who he actually works for. He won't. Isn't it great? UFO transparency and disclosure advocates who won't tell you where they work right now. They want transparency and disclosure from the government, but they don't want to tell you where they work. So anyway, this document which he released also proves he claimed that he worked in signals intelligence. That is not the case, because if he did work in signals intelligence, there'd be some mention of it in this document. There isn't. So that's a provably 100% false statement. And Mr. Sands has made multiple false statements so far. Stephen Greenstreet was in that space asking him questions about working for UAPTF, the UAP task force for Jay Stratton, or another person who came after Jay Stratton, in which Mr. Sands said, yes, I did work for UAPTF. Then he has to release a statement saying, oh, I should have been clear. I was never employed by UAPTF. So within the space of 24 hours, Mr. Sands is backpedaling on the claims that he's already made. I have a synopsis that I wanted to share. I hope he doesn't mind, but I doubt he does, from Jeremy McGowan, who has been very critical of some of these intelligence people. This is his interesting breakdown. A guy by the name of Jason Sands came out, initially championed as a whistleblower, claimed to be part of the Corey Goode described 20 and back program, where he was recruited by aliens to serve in space for 20 years, then brought back in time and age regressed. That he met blue avian aliens, and then he appears on a scam attorney website that uses fake AI generated pictures of other attorneys. the pictures of which appear on countless other fake lawyer company pages. All the while, he claimed to be part of the UAPTF, then claimed he wasn't in the UAPTF. Then he claimed he was signals intelligence. He worked for signals intelligence in the United States Air Force, but his DD-214 shows that he wasn't signals intelligence. That's just a surface level breakdown. The whole thing happened in multiple threads across the entirety of UFO Twitter. So yeah, problems for Mr. Sands already. And now there's some other strange thing. I'm gonna share this statement because now Mr. Sands is making statements clarifying things from something called UAP United. But before we get into that, I had some other things that I think these are red flags. I'm going to share my screen once again. I've got a lot more to share with you, including some videos of Mr. Sands making these claims. Okay, this is about the whistleblowers. Some of them have proof and are still in the program. Jason said the three main reasons he is coming forward now instead of waiting. 1, he wants people to know we are not alone. 2, he heard over the phone and communications wiretaps a group using reverse engineered vehicles to smuggle drugs. And where did we get that? Where did he get that from? Oh, Michael Herrera, another evidence-free person claiming the title of whistleblower. Are we getting sick of so-called whistleblowers who have no evidence and they're all backing each other up? Hey, I'll tell everybody your story is true if you tell everybody mine is. 3, he wants the other 39 whistleblowers who are still in the legacy program to see that you can come forward and talk about it as long as you don't say any classified stuff. He wants them to follow his lead. So this is Mr. Sands verifying that he is one of David Grush's 40 so-called whistleblowers. Remember those 40 whistleblowers we were promised? Well, apparently Mr. Sands is the first one. And I don't know if you got your red pen out, but I'm ready to take a big red X to this guy already since he's talking about wackadoo shit like 20 and back and time traveling and blue avians and tall white aliens, all of which were created by UFO profiteering whore scumbag grifters. That's where this guy's a high-ranking military intelligence officer, and the best information he has is coming from known hoaxers, grifters, and scammers in the UFO community. I would think that would be a problem, but not in UFO land. Apparently, you could get your information from UFO grifting scumbags. As long as you got a good resume and military credentials, people will believe you. Questions. You mentioned 20 and back. Now, are you confirming the Corey Good testimony, or are you confirming just that this is a phenomenon where people can go 20 years into the future and then be like regressed into their former bodies or something like that? Can you give a little bit of information? And Jason says, I can't explain the experience, but it was similar to what Good calls 20 and back, is what I was introduced into. But we didn't call it 20 and back, but it was definitely something that I had to pay penance for getting out of the program. The question is, I'm not sure how to wrap my head around that. Jason Sands says, well, I don't either. To tell you the truth, it was a very strange experience. I'm not quite comfortable talking about the whole thing in detail at this point because it was so, in many ways, but maybe sometime in the future, I'll be able to come to grips with it and, talk about it. Below is the Scott Andrews story, which Lou Elizondo commented on. Okay, that's not relevant. And then we get to Eric Davis. For those unaware, Eric Davis has been called a crackpot researcher by the United States Air Force, or his research was called crackpot research. And you may recall that John Oliver did a piece where he was making fun of Eric Davis's research papers, which depicted somebody waving to a Barney dinosaur through a time portal. Eric Davis is a complete and total wackadoo who has made multiple claims about aliens and UFOs, but never proven anything. Famously telling the New York Times that he briefed senators and congressmen about off-world vehicles. But of course, he never wants to prove anything. He's also the originator of the fake Wilson memo, the Wilson documents, which were completely and totally fake, according to Admiral Tom Wilson. They were a, quote, work of fiction. Eric Davis also claims that ghosts followed him home while he was working at the Skinwalker Ranch and that a demon telepathically communicated with him, saying, we are watching you. Eric Davis is a complete and total UFO alien wackadoo. And the fact that Eric Davis is calling bullshit on this guy doesn't look good. So Eric Davis says, Sands turned out to be either a liar or a believer of his own BS. He was never vetted, and his story keeps changing. People I collaborate with have met him and realized that his claims don't hold water. The only thing that they felt was certain from meeting Sands, it was likely he did work at U.S. Air Force bases. So, friends, if Wackadoo Eric Davis is saying that your claims are fake, you got problems, because Eric Davis is a true believer, man. He believes everything. But boy, he's sure been backpedaling about a lot of stuff lately. And I find that interesting. Also, that comment appeared, see, all of this stuff is connected. That comment was made in a UFO group, which is right now actively censoring and censoring reporters who are critically reporting on the UFO topic. And that we previously reported on. That's a Facebook group which banned me, Stephen Greenstreet, and several others because they didn't like our coverage of the fake Pentagon UFO program director or some of the other stuff, right? So that person from the group, it's called UFOs, the UFO phenomenon, a serious look. And you can have a serious look, but only if you're not skeptical. If you're skeptical, they delete you from that book, right? Now, of course, I can't find it. I'm looking. So the originator of that group, who runs that UAP scientific organization that keeps hiring UFO scammers, he is upset that people took the screenshot of Eric Davis saying that you're not allowed to do that. So this group is actively oh, I found it. And by the way, thanks to who sent me this, but I don't want to mention them because they might get deleted from that group. So this is Rich Hoffman, who hired UFO scammers. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Yeah, Rich Hoffman. Rich Hoffman is the guy who's hiring UFO scammers at his scientific UAP organization's annual events. And he decided to delete any reporters like me or Stephen Greenstreet that are critical of the UFO scammers and that he's hiring. This man called Rich Hoffman, an intellectual weakling and a coward who claims to be a man of science, but yet wants to keep censoring people. He says, folks, this is a Facebook page for serious treatment of the UAP. It is to be a safe space for open dialogue by everyone here. What about me, Rich Hoffman? Isn't it a safe space for me? Why did you delete me, you pussy? Rich Hoffman is a pussy. This guy is a bow tie wearing intellectual weakling pussy who's hiring UFO scammers who've taken part in investment scams, allegedly, like Hal Puthoff and Lou Elizondo. He's hiring fake Pentagon program directors. Then he's deleting anyone from that Facebook group that asks, why are you hiring scammers who are lying to people at your so-called scientific research organization, right? We have seen recently a number of people taking our posts outside of this page to other sites. Those persons have been removed. Comments made by members here should stay here unless the poster gives permission. As the owner of this page, I ask you for support in keeping a safe space for all, except Stephen Greenstreet and except Stephen Cambion. Those fuckers aren't allowed here because they are proving that I, Rich Hoffman, are hiring UFO grifting scumbags at my so-called scientific organization with charitable donations. He's using charitable donations to give money to fake UFO program directors, wackadoo scientists, right? Like Hal Puthoff and other scammers. Great. And this year, they hired Ross Coulthart as their keynote speaker. You remember him, the guy who keeps getting caught selling completely and totally fake stories, right? The Patchgate story, the Pedogate story, the giant alien spaceship story. Let's not forget, he brought us the Grush evidence-free story, 330-something days now, still no evidence. Rich Hoffman is an intellectual weakling and a coward. Is that what you have to do to preserve your delusion bubble that you live in, Mr. Hoffman? You have to delete good evidence and fact-based reporters like Stephen Greenstreet or me and others from your page. Now you're complaining that people are taking screenshots of things people say? Come on, man. What a delusional fantasy world this bow tie wearing Bubba idiot lives in, right? And by the way, I asked him for an interview about why he's hiring scammers or people selling provably fake stories. I asked him if he's going to give refunds to the people he falsely advertised Lou Elizondo's fake resume to. Crickets, Mr. Hoffman. So I will never shy away from an excuse to shit all over this guy. You're on my shit list, Mr. Hoffman, because you live in a delusional fantasy world where you get to control the conversation. You don't. And if the highlight of your life is running a goddamn UFO Facebook group, then you are a loser that I feel sorry for. All right, now we're going to move on to the, I guess we're going to go to the Whistleblower, which begins in about 10 minutes. Hold on, let me cue the, all right, I'm cueing this. We're still citing fair use. We're going to share this Twitter Spaces where this Jason Sands showed up and started making big claims. One of his big claims is he is part of the UFO alien crash retrieval program that everybody's looking for. He's part of it. Great. Do you have any evidence of that? Well, no, I can't share it. And listen, I just want to ask, aren't we tired of these evidence-free whistleblowers? This topic is in the shitter, thanks to big bluffers like Dave Grush, Lou Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, Hal Puthoff, Eric Davis. Everybody bluffing with no evidence has destroyed the credibility of this topic. Can we really stand another fake whistleblower who's making wackadoo claims with no evidence? This topic is getting destroyed by people accepting stories as evidence. This is not evidence. And by the way, the reason that people say this stuff is all fake is because of people like Lou Elizondo, Dave Grush, Christopher Mellon, Hal Puthoff, the Skinwalker scam crew, all these people that are constantly overhyping, overpromising, and under-delivering. They're constantly doing this. It's ridiculous. And that's why people, look, we're at almost a year now. Grush hasn't provided any evidence of his out-of-this-world claims. So people go, oh, yeah, remember that Grush guy? He said the government has aliens. He never proved anything. He was full of shit. It casts a shadow of doubt on the entire subject matter. You're not doing anybody any favors overhyping, over-sensationalizing, and under-delivering. But what you are doing is making people think, yeah, that stuff's all fake, right? But hey, they're filling their pockets with UFO dollars. And by the way, I want to publicly ask James Fox, how much did you pay this guy, Jason Sands, to be in your documentary? I think that should be public knowledge, right? I mean, it's a fair question, because if he has a profit-driven motive to just make up fake stories, like other people have had profit-driven motives to run with fake stories, then he's not to be trusted. But let's just review before we begin looking at his claims. This guy claimed that he's part of the UFO crash retrieval, or he was part of the UFO crash retrieval and alien retrieval program that everybody's looking for. Okay. He also claimed that he worked for the UAPTF. That turned out to be a false claim. He also claimed that he worked in signals intelligence. We could see from his military document that he shared that was a completely and totally false claim. Then he's claiming he's part of Corey Good's 20 and Back program, which was fictitious in nature, admitted under oath, and that he met a tall white alien, which are aliens invented by a fake Air Force weather observer that was never in the Air Force. It's not looking good for Mr. Sands so far, and he's working with James Fox, who, to me, is just a garbage peddler. And let me not forget that he was also on the Goofy UFO show, the Goofy UFO show works for Third Phase of Moon. And he used a fake name when he did that and made a lot of claims there too, claiming to work with Dave Grush and other things, using a fake name. This is going to be problematic, but let's get into some of his claims. We're not going to go through this whole thing. I have some timestamps of what I think are the important parts. Right in the beginning, he claims he was part of the UFO crash retrieval program that Dave Grush described and everybody is looking for or was looking for. Then the average Chris asked him about his military background at about 45 minutes in, and then Stephen Greenstreet starts asking questions about the UAPTF stuff, where he basically lied to Stephen Greenstreet. And I just want to put out a warning. Listen, I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I'm pretty good at, finding deception among these people. But Stephen Greenstreet, I would admit, is probably better than me. If you're gonna lie to a reporter, you're probably not a good idea to lie to me, and especially Stephen Greenstreet in a publicly recorded space, you asshole. But hey, he's new at the grifts, yeah.
One, I guess I'll just continue with the question I had, and then I'll direct another question to Jason at the same time. So, well, both of you really, what went down in those forums and personally in the IC community when those MH370 videos resurfaced, and why hasn't there been anybody to come out and basically just state the fact that they're a hoax? Two, Jason, can you describe, obviously you heard about this space, or you heard about the chatter.
I agree, Mike.
I can only assume that's through Steve and AKA and possibly other people.
Yep.
So there's
that's
a network
repackaging
there.
of old UFO lore.
Can you describe the program that you're talking about? Is it the program? Is it
I don't know.
program that everybody's looking for?
Yes.
And what was your role? Like what exactly is it that you did or did you find, etc.? So those are the two questions I have.
Do you want me to go first? You want me to let the other guy answer part of the question?
Up to you guys.
Well,
it's all good to me.
Okay, well, I'll go first then. Yes, it is the program everybody talks about. It is a reverse engineering program, as David Grush had mentioned. The program does have vanilla.
I agree, Mike.
Where, yes, we do have stuff that comes from different wars and adversaries and equipment that we're trying to reverse engineer or at least figure out.
Yes, and just to be clear, I've never disputed that the United States government, the Chinese government, the Russian government, the Indian government, many governments have crash retrieval programs. If adversarial technology comes within their possession, they're going to try to back engineer it. That's what I believe many of these people are mistaking for alien technology being crash retrieved. He even says here that this is vanilla part of the project where it's just foreign adversarial technology that we're studying. But somehow he claims the same program is also recovering aliens, though Arrow and Sean Kirkpatrick found no evidence of that. But they did find evidence that people were mistaking real special access projects for some project involving alien technology when that is not the case.
Just to defend our nation against some of the people that are out there. But then there's another smaller group of scientists and engineers working on this exotic material.
Exotic material. It doesn't say alien.
To answer that part of your question was I was doing what's called red teaming for the program, which is where I and a small team of individuals would go out from location to location all around the continental U.S., wherever they sent us. We would go out and just monitor the telephones, go in and out of facilities, trying to figure out where the security vulnerabilities were. And then we would report that after our 2-week mission. We would report to the director or the leader of that particular organization.
What does that have to do with crash retrievals? Sounds like he was information security, which has nothing to do with crash retrievals. So I don't think this Jason Sands is being honest here about his role in a crash retrieval program, but that's just my opinion. If you have somebody recovering even foreign technology, what's his role? Oh, we have to test for security vulnerabilities? Something doesn't sound right here already.
And they could invite whoever they wanted from their staff to come to that briefing. And then 90 days later, we would give our final report as to, here's what we have on your mission type. Here's all the information. So our team literally, unlike, say, people like Lazar or other people that may have come forward that had only a piece of the information, my team actually was listening to all of the scientists, all of the engineers, all of the leadership, from mission to mission, listening to thousands of calls each time we went out. So we got a very good picture of what was going on in the entire program, unlike other people that are stovepiped into just one piece of it. So
he's claiming that he has knowledge of the whole program, where other people only have compartmentalized knowledge of certain parts of the program. Okay, does he have evidence of this? Or we're just going to listen to him tell stories for the next year, like we did with Grush. And by the way, I really think there needs to be some kind of new vetting process in the UFO community. It's taken us a year to figure out that Dave Grush is a bullshitter with no evidence. It took multi-years to figure out that Lou Elizondo is a bullshitter with no evidence. How long is it going to take to figure out this guy is a bullshitter with no evidence? And by the way, for all I know, I could be wrong, but there's a lot of red flags and warning signs already with this guy. He's already made provably false statements about his level of employment. So it's not looking good for this guy already.
That was where my expertise came from.
So do you have an idea of the core story then? Seeing you're this close to the program, do you have an idea of what the core story is in terms of what we do know?
Yes, Scamwalker Ranch.
Inner Circle seems to know.
Yes. What do you want to?
Which is
what part of the core story? There's a lot of rabbit holes in that one.
Yeah, it sounds like he listened to a lot of good. He's making it up on the fly.
Well, the core story meaning, right? If we establish that there's a there, right? I would imagine that the people are looking for or trying to find a consensus on the core aspects, which would be, has there anything been recovered? Has there been any sort of bodies? Do we know where they come from? And possibly, is there any sort of communication? So
they let anybody with a story, apparently.
Probably the inner parts of the core story that at least like people like Kit Green and Put Up are getting consensus on. And I would assume that someone this close to the program would know these things, or at least some of these things.
Yes, and then yes. On the missions, we did intercept traffic that dealt with what I believed as an analyst, and the other guys.
Where are the bodies, Garth?
Found very strange, and we would talk about those things, and some of those dealt with some of the other races that are involved. They were mentioned, like the tall whites, the grays. Yes, we heard things like that coming out of it.
So people are talking about tall white aliens, fictitious species of aliens invented by a fake Air Force weather observer who was never in the Air Force. Not looking good for Mr. Sands, citing a proven stolen valor fraud who made up stories of an alien race called tall whites. Now he's saying, oh, there's communications about those tall white aliens between people in the intelligence community, and I saw some of that. So people in the intelligence community are talking about a fictitious race of aliens that originated from a complete and total fraud that was never in the Air Force, and now you're weaving that into your story. Doesn't look good. I mean, there's two possibilities. Maybe some wackadoos in the government believe that guy and we're talking about it and he picked up some communications, or maybe this guy's making all this up and he's just picking, proven or accepted UFO mythology and lore and stories and weaving it into his own story.
That there were certain labs that actually those that were participating in that kind
Chris
of
Johansson.
activity.
Oh Christ, just as I thought, all garbage.
So there must have been some sort of material retrievals as well involved. As a matter of fact, they tried to
Fart
recruit
tart.
me into the retrieval program early on, but I refused because I thought it was kind of gross. Picking up, bodies and things like that. Didn't like that. So
Talman says this guy's a hero.
Things that we went over in great detail that I can't talk about.
Yeah, so he's already testified, apparently, according to his claim, to Congress and to Arrow. And Arrow, said there's no proof of aliens. So I guess they found none of his information credible.
Dealing with, exact names and exact places, I can't go that far. So that I can just tell you that in general, we're, in my estimation, we're not alone. Yes, we do have some contact. How much of the reverse engineering is going on, I'm not a scientist, but I could tell you that I believe that, yes, there at least has been some research over the past 80 years or so. The program's been alive. So take that as you would like. I went in as a skeptic myself. I didn't particularly care for it one way or the other.
Here's the Grush statement. Oh, I was a skeptic. I wasn't a UFO guy
on Earth that I just experienced, and I've kind of felt that way ever since.
It's opinion.
So
yeah,
that's
Jason. Thank you for sharing that. Could you just one more sub point on that great question? What you learn about, I guess, the general.
Yes, we do, Urban Way.
The broad perspective. Did it seem to supersede or go beyond our understanding of the scientific method itself?
Oh, do they have science beyond ours? The hydrogen line says, I have never seen a so-called whistleblower implode so quickly. He is so bad that even the known charlatans don't want any part of him. That's another red flag for sure. That is for sure another red flag that this guy's full of shit.
Yeah, I would say that the scientists themselves were quite frustrated in many cases. They were, number one, stovepiped, and they couldn't talk to very many other, co-workers, scientists that may have been working on something similar to help them to discover something about whatever they were looking at.
Now he's basically citing Bob Lazar propaganda, claiming that it's also compartmentalized, that the scientists couldn't communicate with each other. Therefore, they had a great deal of difficulty making progress on the back engineering efforts. That's a direct line from Bob Lazar.
And then there was this, like I said, this vanilla reverse engineering part of the program. The scientists were completely fine with researching and collaborating because it was stuff that had, say Russian writing on it or Chinese writing, and they could decipher that. Very obvious that it was an avionics pod and they were doing this with it or that with it. But this other stuff just was totally dumbfounding the scientists and the engineers. And that's where, honestly, that as an analyst, I had to take note of that and realize that, hey, there's something else going on here.
Yeah, and I often think that a lot of these stories come from actual crash retrievals where they may pick something up that crashed from space or from the sky, and they just can't figure out where it's from, what its purpose is. So then people within the intelligence community may jump straight to, oh, this might be an alien spacecraft because we can't figure it out. That's bad science, bad logic. Troll is here and says the scientists were frustrated. Bob Lazar should have hooked them up with some of his working girls. Yes. Anna Louisa says it pisses me off that people are so passive. Yeah.
So
that was a great response.
Also, if I could just get a response for the MH370 question from AKA.
Oh, God. Yeah, and this guy won't even call MH370 a hoax, which means he's an idiot. But we're going to skip ahead. I have a timestamp guide here. So 45 minutes in, Average Chris starts asking him about his military credentials and background. I think it's 45 minutes in. Let's take a look at that.
Those guys that have some real experience. I would say that,
yeah, sometimes it's just space junk.
If you look at that report and you hear some of the,
of course, he trashes the Arrow report
for many years, journalists included, that did the hard work in the investigations. that report's, if they really, really did their due diligence on
I agree.
a whole,
20 minutes and back.
archive of UAP data and events, that it was a very poor rendition.
Hey, Stiff Richard is here. Welcome.
All the things that we've known, even from Project Blue Book and all the other things that came before, it kind of just, to me, it just doesn't sit well. And I'd say it kind of fits what Sean likes to do. He's a very good scientist, but I think when it came to the investigative work with the whistleblowers that came his way, I think maybe investigation wasn't his strong point. So that being said, I wish that, or I'm hoping that Congress does continue the investigation.
I know they all.
You can, people arguing back and forth about all sorts of different scientific things in academia. You've got one guy being paid to come up with one theory, and they were arguing with another person that's got another theory about where the data is pointing. So it's to be
You're right.
Given that Sean would say the things he said, he wasn't in the program like I was. I'm kind of disappointed because, I'm like, that's not what I said. If you were to take me at my word, I would have said that he kind of didn't do me justice in that report either. So that's just my opinion.
Appreciate it. And let's get around to the hands too. I know we got a bunch up. I know Chris, and then Experience, and then Matt.
So Chris is going to ask him about his military credentials.
Green Street jumped up too. So.
Okay. Hey, so your name's Jason, right? Is that correct?
Yes, Average Chris. Previous guest here.
I came in kind of late. So I know that you were talking about, I think I heard about a reverse engineering program potentially. Can you just kind of give me a brief history of kind of like your introduction and what you stated? And I just got a couple questions after that, if you don't mind. But yeah, just kind of tell me the gist of everything, because I missed that part.
Yeah, all I stated was just that, yes, there is obviously a reverse engineering program, just like every other nation on Earth does.
Yeah, to
If you
get
capture an
adversarial
enemy,
technology, not
aircraft
alien
or
spacecraft.
or some
Two
new
totally different
technology,
things.
You're going to grab it and you're going to try to reverse engineer it. You're going to do all that stuff. So yes, there is a reverse engineering program.
He worked with scientists, so
however,
this must be
when I
true.
was
This is just stupid.
Doing my line
Can't
of work,
disagree with you.
which was to go out and do the red teaming. We actually were intercepting phone calls and things like this between site to site, scientist to scientist, engineers, leadership, and they were all they would talk about those, kind of adversarial things that were captured from like China, Russia, whoever, and they would be talking about that in one light, but then there was a small cadre of things that and scientists that were discussing stuff that seemed to be totally foreign and from someplace else, that they couldn't even decipher the language that was written on some of the parts, that there was these parts operated in such a way that it didn't make any sense to their scientific background and what they'd learned through school, and just a complete frustration on some of the scientific and engineering parts. So that's all I said about any kind of reverse engineering.
Gotcha. So I'm an Air Force veteran myself. So you were in the Air Force, correct? Is that what I understand?
Yeah, 22 years, retired in 2007.
Awesome. Thank you for your service. I actually was in during that time. So I just wanted to ask, can you share what your MOS was, or what your title was in Air Force?
I was 1N6.
Okay, so you're an intel.
That's correct.
Do you know? Are you able to say what?
They should stop using that word.
What covers department or what specific job in intel? Or
it was initially telecommunications, security, and then
I'm not familiar with the term.
We merged into another. I think it was 1N8 career field or something, or 1NO was also another thing they merged into. But they still kept the telecommunications security and monitoring program underneath the umbrella of those particular AFSCs.
Gotcha. So you're in basically
whistleblower doesn't mean anything.
Signals. Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so I missed the part of where
there's the signals lie. He was never in signals
so
intelligence.
how did you or did you just intercept?
He just lied to
communications
average
and
Chris.
That what you were,
Bad
that's what you're
idea.
talking about. What's kind of the gist of what you're whistleblowing about? I guess it's a good question.
The concern has to do with some of the things that were going on at the time, where
this is secret intel. Yeah, shared in the Twitter
some craft
space
that I knew were in our inventory, and they're kind of regularly reported as UAP. And some of the activities I started seeing was coming out in these stories in Indonesia mainly that caused me some concern that there was some contraband or even other sorts of things that were being exchanged from the inside of the chassis of this craft, or the cargo bay.
now. He's citing Michael Herrera, one of Stephen Greer's fake
and
whistleblowers.
it raised
It's
some
a
hackles
self-licking ice cream cone.
in my book, and I thought to myself, this looks an awful lot like something I already know about, and I wanted to make sure that things were still on the up and up. So I had some concerns, and as I was saying earlier in this particular,
I agree, Lady D.
when I got talking,
nothing
here on
original
this
here.
Twitter, or on this particular podcast, that those concerns are things that I wanted to bring forward, not in an adversarial way, because I was part of the program. I know why they do what they do, but I'm not here to get anybody, in trouble or put people in jail. I'm just saying, hey, if the culture has changed to the point from, when I knew it in the 1990s into something where they're utilizing some of these really cool craft for things that are questionable.
He hasn't even said aliens, so maybe there's some top secret craft that he believes are being used for nefarious purposes, and that's what he's whistleblowing about, which could be the case. But why tack on Corey Good stories or Charles Hall tall white alien stories?
That needs to be looked at, and all I've asked Congress to do is please just investigate this. I don't want to put people in jail or anything, but if you can get some kind of oversight in this, this is why I believe there needs to be a little bit more transparency.
Oh, Wignats, you're right. I've done
maybe
some
not
work
public
like that
transparency
in my IT
in
career.
a classified sense, to where at
We
least
routinely
Congress
check
can
for
keep the
security
oversight that they need
vulnerabilities in the IT
and
infrastructure.
get the reassurances that the technologies are being used for the intended purpose.
Tall white
We're not
cocaine.
getting like nothing burgers and shit on these skiffs. Yeah. All right.
Right.
I want to throw it over to Experience. You got your hand up. What's up, dude?
It is. It's getting sad.
What's up, y'all? What's up, Jason? Sounds like 22 years. Sounds like you got a lot of wisdom in your voice. OG, you've seen a lot of things. So if you are the one that's going to be in this upcoming James Fox, is this the one where you had an interaction with an actual blue bang, or is that somebody else?
No, that you're correct.
And here he
I
talks
still don't
about
know what it was.
saw a blue
I
alien.
think the Intel community, when they saw me give that rendition, it was just a trip up to the work site to do training, totally outside of my duties. We were just on our way up to Black Mountain for the day to train air crews. And that was all we were doing, and this event occurred. But you guys will get to hear all that in James' film. I don't want to.
I don't want to give away too many.
Yeah, I
details
did, and
if
maybe
you
I'll
can.
talk
I
about that,
understand
Stiff
That's
Richards.
fine. So my question to you,
Yeah,
is,
got to save it for the
your exposure
documentary.
to this, or the initial exposure, is you doing intel work,
Yeah.
intercepting calls, listening to some of these scientists riff about stalled progress and what they're trying to study or research or reverse engineer.
Yeah.
Is that your first exposure to this? And did your encounter happen afterwards? Like how would you say, how much exposure do you think you've had to the phenomenon?
It's kind of been something that's followed me around most of my life. As a kid and a young adult, I would say that the instances I had of encounters were just kind of UFOs and golly gee whiz, what was that I just saw?
So there we go. This guy has been interested in the topic of UFOs his entire life. So I guess claims of I'm not into UFOs won't work with this guy. We want to thank Go Kicks Rocks for a kind and generous $20 super chat. For those unaware, we're a viewer-supported show. And if you're tired of seeing the usual UFO circle jerk, I would appreciate you putting your money where your mouth is and help us to praise the cash like Go Kicks Rocks here, kind and generous $20. It's funny to see past hardcore Eric Davis supporters throw him under the bus for calling BS on Sands. The hardcore believer side is starting to turn on itself. I'm sitting on the sides eating popcorn at this point. And I totally agree with you. Let me see if I can find that clip, Jess, because this Nicole, I can't remember her last name, but this Nicole person is a sort of like works with Grant Cameron. One second here. Oh, you just got it for me. Look at that. So we'll share this tab instead. This is Nicole Sakach, who works with Grant Cameron, and they are throwing Eric Davis under the bus now because Eric Davis said that this guy is full of shit. And the true believers don't like somebody throwing water onto their fiery hot disclosure boner. And I'm not sure, Go Kick Rocks. Can a female get a disclosure boner? I think so. And Nicole Sakach is upset with Eric Davis for saying that this guy's full of it.
You know, I was proud of ufology that it maybe had a moment in this slump or whatever that's going on. And then it all turned so stupid, ugly, so fast for no reason at all. Just have some manners.
Yeah, don't
have
call
some
bullshit on
respect or
bullshitters.
decency.
Let people lie.
Have some patience. Shame on you, Eric Davis. Like, honestly, shame on you, Eric Davis. I almost hope the Wilson Davis documents are just fucking fake as shit now.
Yeah, and meanwhile, this person has made a lot of money off
I
those
do.
fake
I'll
notes.
say it. I do. I hope they're fake.
Wow. That's something else.
All right.
You know,
Dave from Spaced Out Radio too. He's like, don't say that. My audience won't like that. Right? And no offense, Dave. Come on, man. But we want to thank Go Kicks Rocks for being a kind and generous benefactor. And of course, sending me the clip. That was very kind of you. And for helping us to continue the journey here by praising the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Thank you, Go Kicks Rocks, longtime show supporter, and soon to be my Twitter's Spaces co-host. Just to let everybody know, we were supposed to do the first one yesterday, but both my children got strep throat, and so did I. And I'm still recovering from that. And I just thought it would be a good idea to give my throat a rest. We want to thank Govan 00 or 00 Govan 00 says, "What's up?" with a kind and generous $2. Well, thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support in helping us to.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Ooh, I pushed the wrong button here. Let's go back to the Jason Sands, but we're gonna I'm gonna cue it back to when Stephen Greenstreet comes in, which is about 1 hour and 12 minutes in. Let me see if I can get that. Those were, I think, the three most important parts of this, because listen, when somebody asks this guy real questions, he basically lied twice in the spaces. He said he was part of Signals Intelligence. We can see from the military record that he himself published, he was not part of Signals Intelligence. And Stephen Greenstreet's going to ask him about being a part of the UAPTF, which he previously claimed on another show as well. So he's lied multiple times already. Oh, 1 second. All right. 1 second here. Where is it at? There we go. So we've got somebody from Skyfire News first, and then Stephen Greenstreet.
Can you speak a little bit more about this forum that we're hearing people talk about, where it sounds like UAPTF people are there speaking about UFO-related matters? And is there anything?
And this makes no sense. You can't discuss classified projects in a forum on the internet. But Jason is claiming that's what they were doing
in that forum.
Yeah, they are
in
fake.
the forum. I would say that yes, I totally respect everybody.
She's upset with Davis for popping the grifter balloon.
And everybody in their expertise levels and whether they agree or don't agree with UAP. It's been fantastic, honestly. I love hearing both sides of it. And at the same time, what is it?
Yep.
Well, are you looking for something in particular about what it's telling us? Because I don't know how to address that part of your question.
Any cases or anything in the public that you felt like extra validated? I know when we asked the previous guy the Wilson Davis memo. So anything like that's already public that you felt.
Yeah, and he says the
Oh,
fake
yeah.
Wilson notes are real. That's his opinion.
Well, I
Guys
can
winging
tell you
it.
that in the forums, yes, that the Wilson memo definitely was it had arguments for both for and against it. I am for the fact that yes, that memo is correct, and it does sound very genuine to me.
That means he's an idiot.
And I've been asked several different times in several different ways about it. And being an analyst myself,
I agree. I agree,
think it's
Jacques
legit.
Molay.
That's my opinion. I'm welcome to my opinion. You can disagree with it or not. And even my friends, we sometimes disagree.
I agree, Jesus J.
Because
Where's
sometimes
it,
truth
Jesus J?
is outed that way. But
he's rolling
for
the
right
dice.
Now,
that's right.
I've heard the arguments both for and against, and I think that the Wilson memo is legit.
Even though Admiral Wilson says they're a work of fiction.
Nice. All right.
So this guy just believes what he wants to.
I'll
Here's
go ahead.
Stephen Greenstreet.
Dorothy Greenstreet. We got a bunch of hands up too.
Jason, thanks for taking questions. Is Jason Sands your real name?
Yes.
Okay. And I joined late, so if you shared this information, I apologize. You were part of the UAP task force?
Yes.
Okay. From when were you part of the UAP task force?
From 2021 until Arrow stood up.
Oh, okay. Wow. So were you there? You weren't there when Jay Stratton was there.
I know.
I think if he was there, it was just that first year I was in
yeah, because he left January 2021. So you were you served with Brennan McKernan?
Yeah.
Okay, with Brennan McKernan. Okay. I spoke to a few UAP task force analysts.
And this, he clearly said he worked for the UAP task force. He clearly said yes. He even said, yes, I worked under that guy, because Stephen Greenstreet knew who the boss during those times of the UAP task force was after Stratton. And again, he says, yes, I worked under that guy. How could he get that so wrong and then have to backpedal and say, oh, I never worked for the UAPTF?
Which you probably also worked with. I won't name them, but a few of them spoke about the hitchhiker phenomena. Are you familiar with the hitchhiker phenomena?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree, Matt Ranch, yeah.
Okay. And they had personal experiences with the hitchhiker phenomena. Have you had any personal experiences with the hitchhiker phenomena, or are you familiar with anyone close in these programs that have experienced a hitchhiker?
I have not. However, I do have some friends that have. Yes.
Okay. And then, interesting. Okay. And then
he believes
you
in
mentioned the blue
poltergeist.
alien or the blue entity, but you stopped yourself short from getting into too many details, saying that we would have to wait and see. Wait and see for what?
Well, it's just I know James Fox. I go over all that in James Fox's film. I don't want to spoil it for him or you guys.
Yeah. So in other words, pay.
I'm holding back.
Pay to
because I
hear
know
my
he's working real
story.
hard on it. So
Okay, so for a movie. Okay, and then is there a reason why you decided to be a whistleblower on Twitter Spaces rather than going to like the Washington Post or mainstream media?
Well, this one, those were all possibilities.
He worked under a lot of guys. That sounds dirty,
all those kinds
Stormcrow.
of things. This one seemed to be a good discussion tonight, and I wanted to be part of that because it seems that there's been a few other
he doesn't want to spoil the
times
cash.
when my name has been mentioned. I felt bad that I couldn't participate at that time because I was still going through my adoption process, which is your pre-publication thing.
You still can. Like, this is an opportunity for you guys to connect and make an article for the Washington Post. Like, you guys can fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, here it is.
Correct. And that's the whole thing, is that, you know, the opportunity is always there, but, you know, I'm not a glory seeker or anything like that.
Oh, he's not a glory seeker.
Set the story straight.
He's just taking money to tell alien stories and documentaries by James
towards my
Fox.
retirement,
He's not
like
a
everybody
glory
else,
seeker.
and I feel like this is the only time. This is the generation where I've seen all the celestial bodies kind of aligning on this topic.
Are you still in government? Are you
Yeah.
still in? You are still in government. Oh, okay. I did not know that. Okay, you're still in. So, what agency are you in?
I'd like to leave them out of that. Because my employer knows that I am a whistleblower.
He's a whistleblower, but he can't even tell us what branch of the government he is currently working in. You gotta love that all these transparency and disclosure advocates, they absolutely demand transparency and disclosure from the government. He can't even tell us where he works, right? That's very, very suspicious, in my view.
And I promised them that, I wouldn't mention them at all because I don't want to do that.
Okay, what's the best piece of evidence you have to support the story you're telling?
I guess it's just that I've been verified through Congress, Arrow, the ICIG. You can still get into the systems and see what I was read into. Yeah, I've been to the places I've said I've been. People have looked up my medical records, up my yin yang, and all of them have said, yeah, he's who he says he is.
Now, this is very important. Stephen Greenstreet asked him what his best piece of evidence is. And he essentially says, my credentials, where I've worked, that's my best evidence. Is this another case of just like Grush? This man has no evidence, and all he has to base, whether you believe him or not, is his credentials. He just got asked what his best evidence for his stories are, and he's saying my credentials are my best evidence. Just like Grush, a guy with credentials but no evidence, apparently.
That's the best evidence I can tell you is that that's there. I'm not going to carry out. I've never carried a UFO on my back. If that's what you're getting at, that's an impossibility. And being able to drop it like in Sean Kirkpatrick slap, I couldn't.
But you know where they are, right?
Please do.
Do you know where they are? Do you know where the UFOs are?
He spoke with Arrow.
I have a good idea, but they could have moved them since then. I don't know.
No, gives himself
All right.
an
Well,
out.
thank you for taking my question.
I have a good idea where they're at, but they may have moved them. He's giving himself an out.
Thanks, guys. No, go ahead, Kimmel.
I just was curious to know from Jason or Steve why they felt the need. I mean, did this all culminate with Steve's story with Courtney, or was it actually Courtney's story that I know she said she was in contact? The NSA basically reached out to Courtney because of your story. Yeah. And she eventually had a.
That's where the rumors are that this person, Jason Sands, works for the NSA, the National Security Agency. Which would, if that's true, that means we've got a lot of wackadoos working at high levels of the United States government.
Space with Steve, and I've talked a whole bunch with Steve over the past 48 hours, but I just am wondering what's causing you to come forward right now when you are.
Well, I'm a thoughtful guy. I'm also a somebody who's approachable, and I do listen. I've known Courtney for quite a bit now. I think since about New Year, I've known her. We've talked, and she's visited me here where I am, and we get along pretty good. And
So that's nice. He's got a grifting partner, I guess.
Always intended to talk to her, some other really great people like Leslie Kane and James Fox, and Chris Mellon, all these really great names and stuff like that. I'm very honored that they're all out there doing great work.
They're out there lying to people. Everybody he just mentioned has provably lied to people about fake alien stories. Provably.
But since New Year's, when people saw that little video of James Fox with my name on the clapperboard, I've been wondering myself that, I know I'm working towards publication, but I don't have that yet. But I just got that approved through the DOPSR program last month. So
wow.
I couldn't let Courtney or Leslie Kane or anybody else run with the story.
So this person has already been directly in contact with the people he's mentioned. Why aren't any of them standing up and verifying that he's a credible source of information or saying he's not. They're all suspiciously quiet. And again, this is funny. This is one of David Grush's 40 whistleblowers. We can get that red pen out because we got 39 to go after this clown, apparently.
Or Colt Hart or Jeremy Corbell or anybody else that would be interested in that sort of thing. I just really wasn't ready. But this is the month where all that is taken care of. I've got all my legal blocks gone through. I've gone through Congress, the whistleblower program, like I said earlier. I've gone through the ICIG. I've been through Arrow. I've done all of it. I've done everything by the numbers, just like David Grush did.
Yes, and he went to Arrow and was interviewed and gave them all his information, and Arrow still came to the conclusion that there's no evidence of alien technology. There's no evidence of alien bodies. There's no evidence of alien visitation. There's no evidence of alien crash retrievals. So why are we even listening to this guy who's apparently already gone through and doesn't have any evidence to back up his out of this world claims? But this is nothing new because we've got Dave Grush, who has been telling this same or similar stories since June 5th, 2023. So in the case of Dave Grush, we've got 323 days now, still no evidence. I guess I'm going to make a new counter for Jason Sands. I got to find out when this original Twitter space was, what date it was. We'll start the countdown there. How many days are we going to wait before this guy shows us evidence of his claims? Or is he just going to cash in and be in documentaries and sell books and TV show deals and speak at UFO conferences for cash and still have no evidence? I know what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments. And before we move on, I just want to share this. This is a graphic from Stephen Greenstreet, by the way. I should have retweeted him. I apologize. I for whatever reason, I just grabbed the screenshot that Greenstreet posted. And this is very telling. Stephen Greenstreet points out on April 20th, Greenstreet asks him, "You were part of the UAP task force?" Sands, "Yes." Greenstreet, "When were you part of the UAP task force?" Sands, "From 2021 until Arrow was stood up." Greenstreet, "So you served with Brennan McKernan?" Sands, "Yeah, April 21st. I should have been very clear that I was not employed by the UAP task force." How do you screw that up? So you were part of the UAP task force? Yes. When were you part? Oh, from 2021 until Arrow was stood up. So you served under the director of the UAP task force at that time, Brennan McKernan? Yeah. The next day, "I should have been very clear that I was not employed by the UAP task force." He also claimed when Average Chris asked him some questions that he worked for Signals Intelligence. No, he did not. According to the very military document that he himself published. So what's the deal here? This guy's already making provably 100% fake, false statements. Essentially, he's already been caught lying several times. The guy's been a whistleblower for like 2 days. April 20th was the original date. 3 days. He's been a UFO whistleblower for 3 days. He's already been caught lying several times. This is a terrible start to this whistleblower, so-called alleged whistleblower, I should say. But it gets even better, friends. Let me check. There were some other things on my Twitter that I should have shared. Yes, and I'm going to share this one next because this is a doozy. I can't believe that Jay from Project Unity is essentially calling bullshit on this guy too. That's something else. When Jay from Project Unity is calling bullshit. The new whistleblower, Jason Sands, who claims direct contact with non-human intelligences and is a key feature in James Fox's upcoming documentary, claims he was forced into the 20 and Back program during an interview on Spaced Out Radio. However, the 20-year and Back program is an entirely fabricated program created by Corey Goode, who in 2022 was literally forced to admit the whole thing was fraudulent in a recorded court deposition that is available online. Yeah, thanks for the shout out, Jay from Project Unity. For those unaware, it was Truth Seekers. It was me here. We were the people who published those depositions proving that Corey Goode fabricated most of his stories. We took great personal and financial risk in publishing those. We were under legal threats from Corey Goode. I made the decision that we were not going to be intimidated into not publishing them, and we published them. So it's largely due to the work we did here that everybody knows Corey Goode fabricated a lot of his stories. But anyway, Jay from Project Unity says, this new whistleblower is claiming he was forced into a program that was fabricated by a fraudster UFO personality to make money. Well, that's true. So let's hear him talk about the 20 and back that he did.
But do you know much about 20 and back?
Yeah.
Is that something you could talk about?
I'm not comfortable talking about it, but I served it. I was forced to serve in it when I was taken out of the program.
He was served to force in the 20 and back program, which is a fraudulent, fake, made-up nonsense story by Corey Goode.
Okay, UFO Intros takes note of that because I talked about that on one of your spaces like 3 months ago, and you're like, what's that? But do you know?
So that's something else. He's claiming to be a part of fake UFO stories of the past. This is not looking good for Mr. Sands here. So, but there's more red flags, including the fact that Mr. Sands has been busily in the background collecting UFO and alien information at various different UFO shows, even appearing on the Goofy Show, the Goofy UFO show. And for those unaware, this is a huge red flag that, number one, he would appear on the Goofy UFO show, because the Goofy UFO show is a direct employee of Third Phase of Moon, the biggest alien UFO hoaxers and scammers in UFO history, the biggest alien and UFO scammers and hoaxers. They've hoaxed hundreds of videos on YouTube, faked hundreds of UFO sightings and alien sightings for cash on YouTube. This guy, Jason Sands, goes on the Goofy show with a fake name, and he makes more claims of knowing Grush, working with Grush, and more. Let's share that. And I've clowned out the Goofy show host face because since he's quite honestly, he is the most toxic individual that I know in the UFO space. Well, with perhaps a few exceptions like UAP Mike and King Milkfart. He is a toxic individual who has attacked my family and my children. He has attacked my physical disability. He has told everybody that I have pedophile friends and that might make me a pedophile and more. And why did the Goofy show host do that? Because we proved that he lied to his audience over 50 times. We also proved that he kept lying to his audience about Third Phase of Moon changing their ways and no longer hoaxing things. But anyway, this is pretty long. This is like a half hour of this guy talking. We're going to sample some of this. He's here on a panel show. This is the panel show right after the Goofy show stole the feed illegally from a copyrighted broadcast and broadcast it on his show illegally, getting him lots of views, no consequences. Great. But anyway, he did a panel show discussing Dave Grush and his claims made in the original interview. And what we see here, I guess, except for Ice Cream Shots, is a bunch of less than credible people. This Lynn, rebellious unknown, she claims to have superpowers. Alien Girl believes that Linda Moulton Howe is a great journalist and researcher. She believes Bob Lazar. She believes anything. That girl is dumb as rocks. I just don't think a credible person would be sitting on a panel with people that claim they have superpowers and also a show being run by somebody who works for the biggest UFO hoaxers and alien hoaxers in the history of alien and UFO hoaxing in the form of Third Phase of Moon.
Yeah.
Silver.
Yeah, I think it's time. I mean, because so many people's lives have been
totally
ruined.
down with Doc. We need it's like it's
I'm going to fast forward this till he speaks.
There's like 6,000.
But you did a great job tonight, man. That was really awesome.
Thank you, Ted.
You did a great job stealing a feed that you didn't own and broadcasting it to the internet.
I appreciate you waiting in the wings. It was so funny because I did have the right show on in the beginning for free.
Yeah.
I found it, but because they were playing the interview from last week, I too thought it was just a replay. I'm like, oh, they're just doing a replay and fucking with us all. Right. But it wasn't. It was the real show, and I got Hulu up, and in 5 minutes, yeah, Yeah, but I'll cancel that
And
free
then you
Hulu
whip
thing.
out the credit card and fix
Yeah.
it.
I did.
So there is
It's in the
Wonderful guy. He signs up so that he can illegally broadcast the Grush interview, and then he cancels his Hulu membership after he got all the ill-gotten gains of all those monetized views.
It was in the
Great guy.
computer. All I had to do is hit. No, but
whatever.
didn't they show? They showed the actual footage though. After a while, I saw it. I played it yesterday.
Probable cause is so easy to come up with.
Probable cause.
It is. You can have probable cause for breathing.
For a burrito, okay? I mean,
They just say
He
that.
doesn't speak to it
being
here.
told though. Do you feel it's possible that he could be used as a tool though? Is there potential there?
No, I know that. For
What
a
makes
fact.
you say that though? I mean, it's easy to just say no, but like, what makes you say that?
Well, I've talked to him. I've talked to the friends and other people that
They're talking about Grush
he's
now.
interviewed because I've got a clearance, and they're all very credible people. And he is-
What's your
Yeah, he's one of the people that Dave Grush interviewed. And he just said they're all very credible people. I'm here to tell you, Ted Howells or Jason Sands, whatever your name is this week, that credible people don't go on the Goofy show who works for the third phase of Moon Clowns. And credible people don't use fake names. And credible people don't claim that they time traveled and were age regressed in Corey Good's fake 20 and back program. So this guy claiming that all of Grush's witnesses that he spoke to are credible is laughable. He's one of them. And we just heard he got caught lying in the first 3 days of him declaring himself a whistleblower.
Clearance.
And by the way, this is a year ago. So he's had a full year to research UFO stories, get his story straight, figure out what he's going to say. In my opinion, this is problematic.
it's the top secret and above.
Now, Ted, you said he proved it to you. How did he prove it to you?
Well, as you said, the things are classified. I've seen some of the stuff.
Yeah, that's the excuse. What's the evidence? Oh, it's classified and I've seen it. And Grush is telling the truth. So what we have here is what I commonly refer to as the Wackadoo prover maneuver. Dave Grush makes a bunch of claims about aliens, alien technology, crash retrievals, alien spaceships, alien bodies. And along comes Ted Howells. Well, he was Ted Howells a year ago. Now he's Jason Sands, his real name now. He backs up that Grush is telling the truth because I've seen some of that classified intel. That's the Wackadoo prover maneuver. When one guy with no evidence but good credentials says some crazy alien wackadoo stuff, and then a second guy with good credentials, maybe some military background, claims he's telling the truth that has equally no evidence. It's the Wackadoo prover maneuver. All right, we're going to continue this for just a little bit.
Could you have been chosen for this over him, or are you a totally different level of a?
I'm in a different place in my life right now. I have to watch out because, I'm not ready to go and start my own foundation like he did. I'd have to get out from underneath my current job and kind of enter into the world like he has, and then maybe I could go public.
What's your current job?
I have to keep that close hold.
When you spoke, how long do you know him?
About 3.5 years.
So right when he got involved with UFOs, right, a couple
Correct.
of years ago.
Yeah, so Ted Howells, also known as Jason Sands, is a close associate of UFO fake whistleblower David Grush.
Can you tell us who he spoke with? Do you have any names? Because we don't know.
Well, there's a group of analysts that are on the top secret computers, and they're the ones who report to Congress annually. And those are the people that have.
Wait. What does that mean? They're on top secret computers doing what?
Well, we're all analysts. We're all intel guys. We're all trying to crack the
Posting
data
on poll.
on UAP that we get to see. We're the ones who analyzed.
Wow.
All of the Tic Tac video and all that good stuff.
So now he claims that he's one of the analysts that analyzed the Tic Tac videos for the United States government. I'm not buying that. Sorry.
It's you?
Well, it's not me.
No, I know, but you were there. This is amazing. I didn't know you were that guy.
Yeah,
You're like one of them, this is very exciting.
Yeah, but there are really a bunch of things that we've gone through, and David is really the guy he says he is, and he was there every step of the way.
Let's say he is everything he says he is. Where's the proof? That's what I need. The 2 whistleblowers are supposed to be coming out real soon. I don't know if it's tomorrow, but they supposedly have this evidence that's supposed
Maybe
to
they'll
be.
come out on Greer's show.
Yeah,
Well,
I might be going to Greer's show tomorrow myself.
He's hanging out
invited
at
me, so
he's hanging out at Greer.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
Really?
Hey, back to the TikTok
Yeah.
subject.
Huge.
There's conflicting
What are the
points of
chances?
view.
TikTok.
Tic
Oh, the
Tac.
Tic Tac.
Okay, I was like, I'm familiar with Tic Tac, not the
I don't know why I didn't put 2 and 2 together. Okay, go ahead.
Bad breath,
The
Richie.
Tic Tac
Bad breath.
was
Yeah, bad breath. Right.
NHI. And Greer says that the Tic Tac is Lockheed Skunk Works.
And I would say, in my estimation, from what I've seen of everything, I'm of the mind that because of where it was,
Again,
military
he has secret knowledge
exercise zone,
other people don't have.
and the maneuvers it was doing, it seemed like it was going up to like 10,000 feet and then back down like just over the water. It seems to me like they would have been maybe testing it in that area. So to me, it might be military. There is a possibility that it's quite our own rather than NHI's.
Well, now my understanding, according to
Possibility.
Charles Hall, is that the Tic Tacs
Charles
are
Hall.
tall whites. They are a benevolent.
Here we get the
race
tall
over
whites.
here,
Where did he get that
and they're
from?
Not exactly.
Here's where he got the
allies to
tall
us,
whites
but
a
they're
year
not
ago.
Dangerous.
And he's
Well,
mentioning
I think
meeting
anybody
tall
that's
white.
purporting to
A year
have
later.
knowledge of like details of contact with alien species is, I don't want to be argumentative here, but I think they're a crank. Like, I don't think anybody has had any kind of experience that would warrant that. Like at the very least,
This guy just agreed. Oh yeah, people didn't have alien experiences, and somebody just mentioned the tall whites being the occupants of the Tic Tac because Charles Hall said that. And a year later, after this, he's claiming that he met a tall white alien and stood 3 feet from one. Right? I wonder where he got that idea from. Right on the Goofy Show, apparently.
it's like, so let's take everything that they've said that Gersh has said to be true.
Face value.
It seems to take what they've stated at face value, because this, in my opinion, is the most credible information that's been given.
Yeah, thank him for his service.
Which
he's
even
a super soldier.
still leaves room for this to actually exist as a phenomenon. But
Yeah,
so,
I think
they've stated that he alludes to the idea that Gersh alludes to the idea that he doesn't know if there's been any kind of agreement with an alien species or not. Let's suppose that there has been this phenomenon going on. I think the most likely scenario is that we're
If you
a
say
bug
so, the
in a
watcher.
petri dish to these intelligences. Like, why would we have any kind of in-depth communication with them? Like, we're if they're capable of manipulating space and time in this way, like, they're well beyond our intellectual
We're gonna fix
capabilities.
word here.
There would be it would be an arrogant supposition to think that they would want to contact us. And I mean, you kind of can look at our own moral behavior to see why you also wouldn't want to contact us.
Oh,
but
we're going to forward this.
To a massive earthquake in China. And they said this has happened numerous times recently. And so maybe this pinkish color could be an indicator that it's not natural, that it is man-made after all. So I don't know. A lot of interesting stuff. Why does the United States get attacked by 20 hurricanes and nobody else does? Why?
Weather modification nutter. I don't know when he starts speaking again. Here soon, I think.
And I've watched when HARP turns on, and I'm thousands of miles away from it. And literally days later, there's all this weird weather.
A bunch of wackadoos talking about HARP weather modification. Great quality panelists here.
They're going on all around the planet. I don't disagree with you. I mean, you can't prove it, but it heats up the F layer to a point where it drives weather. It's a fact. I mean, heat rise. You know what I mean? Cold drops. It's common sense. You drop that. You
I have
heat
a
up
question
the
I would love to
atmosphere,
ask.
Ask.
I have a question I would love to ask to either Ted or any of you guys. So do you think that any other whistleblowers are going to come out in support of Grush and back him up?
And a year later, Ted Howells, also known as Jason Sands, comes out in support of Grush. Let's see how he answers this question.
Maybe. If it turns out to be credible, sure.
But do you think
I wouldn't see why not.
Is there consensus amongst the
That's
intelligence
exactly where this
community?
is all going.
I hope
That's exactly where this is all going. Other whistleblowers will come forward to confirm Grush's claims. And a year later, Ted Howells, also known as Jason Sands, comes out to confirm Grush's claims. But he, just like Grush, he has no evidence to actually, prove Grush's claims. It's all trust me, bro.
Does. I hope it does. I'm ready for this. I've been doing this stuff since 1970, guys. I'm ready for something to happen. Okay. I mean, I've been at this a long time, man. I got this gray hair for a reason. Okay. I've been at this a long time. I'm ready for something to happen. Something to go down.
Yeah, I'll
I
tell
keep
you
asking the gods all the time, let it happen.
Now remember, this is just after Grush's initial interview. Oh, we're all ready for real evidence and we're all ready for disclosure. What happened? A year of nothing. That's what happened after this.
For crying out loud.
It's
Newsflash. Your hair is white now.
It's been happening like a lot.
Yeah. But hey guys,
being reported everywhere around the world. So it's happening a lot. So you keep saying you want to see it happening. I mean, with our instantaneous information.
Ted, I would love to hear what Ted has to say on it.
Yeah, I'd say that's exactly what everybody wants, from Arrow to the Congress to Dave Grush to the other whistleblowers. I think that's the mission in life.
The
That's
other
reason they took the
whistleblowers.
risk to
He didn't
come
mention
forward,
he's one of the
is to
whistleblowers.
get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, though, they don't want it to be an adversarial thing. I would suppose that just like in any other project that the government runs, there are good people.
It's like the Brady
They probably
Bunch intro,
think
but
in
shot
this
at the loony
program, there's
bin.
probably a lot of scientists and engineers that feel they're doing something very patriotic.
Right.
There are others that feel as though they may have gotten themselves in leadership positions, and you wouldn't want to meet them in a dark alley kind of people.
Right.
No other countries
that are
get
responsible
hurricanes,
for
yes.
some of the criminal.
I'm the
criminal
spokesperson for the
activities or something.
guys. I'm a serious person.
That's kind of my take on this, is that I think there's some hurdles in their way right now.
Could be.
And that's why we're not getting the whistleblowers coming forward, because they have to get to a better place. And I think that's where everybody's working towards, but it's going to take some time, and hopefully David will be around to kind of blaze the trail for us. And I'm looking forward to that. I do have great respect for him already, for coming forward and doing the things he's done, and even quitting the Air Force the way he did to do this.
But Lou did the same thing in essence, and he dropped the ball the whole time. That guy he ruined ufology. Are they trying to pick up the pieces now?
That's why.
Well,
I know.
Do you know David Grush personally?
He does.
Yeah, and I know Lou as well, and Lou's a good guy.
I was just wondering, why you can't pronounce his last name, because it's Gersh, not Grush.
It's Grush.
Yeah.
Grush.
Well,
Like Rush.
Grush, sorry. I always call him Grush.
So do they
That's a
still
little
plan
suspicious.
on?
Yeah, I'm a great
Project
friend of his.
Bluebeam, or has
I
that
don't
been
even know how to
thrown
say
out
his
now that
name.
So many people have talked about it.
Project Bluebeam was just a theory.
I don't know what
I don't know. Elon Musk is going forward with his little satellite thingy he's got going on. So I don't know.
Let's
I
hope
have a
the internet
question.
stays great too. Strong internet from Musk. Huh?
What'd you have, Richie?
Well, Ted, maybe you know the answer. Maybe somebody else does. Why haven't we seen anything on the Tic Tac over land? If it's such a popular thing and everybody's been seeing it over the ocean, how come they don't drift over to the land, over the Florida Peninsula once in a while, over by?
I can't listen to Goofy anymore. So it's just enough to display to you that this person was very dishonest. He joined a panel show for basically a hoax, clickbait, garbage UFO channel that nobody respects, because the show host is such an idiot, and basically lies about his name, lies about his intentions. He doesn't mention, oh, I'm one of the people that Grush got his information from. So what is he doing except maybe collecting intelligence here trying to figure out what people will believe, not believe, who knows. But it's bizarre that he's on another show under a different name, making claims like he's friends with Grush, he knows Lou Elizondo. So again, this guy's in the same circle of all these wackadoos that have been making these claims without proving anything for years. Interestingly, he comes out with a statement, and this is something bizarre, if you ask me. So he comes out with a statement under UAP United. And it says, official statement on recent discussions and misrepresentations. Regarding the process of whistleblowing in various bodies involved, the National Defense Authorization Act outlines the whistleblower process, not the Inspector General's process. The role of the intelligence community Inspector General, where in my case was ultimately directed. So here's another guy going to the intelligence community Inspector General for whatever reason. Focuses specifically on investigations within the intelligence community. This was decided after some deliberation about whether my case should go to the Department of Defense Inspector General due to my role as an action officer last year. The distinction was made because my experiences related to my time on active duty as an intelligence analyst. Importantly, under the NDAA whistleblower legislation protections, the ICIG process does not confer any additional whistleblower status once a person is covered under these protections. In recent conversations, particularly during the spaced out radio broadcast, around a 3-hour and 40-minute timestamp, I clarified that while 20 and Back is not an official program name, it refers to a significant, though difficult, experience within the programs I was part of. It appears that this crucial part of my statement was omitted in some posts, leading to misunderstandings about my testimony. I am committed to providing more information soon to further clarify the challenging aspects of my experience with the program. So basically, he's trying to walk back the 20 and Back stuff, he said. There have been inaccuracies in public discussions about my clearance and credentials. Richard Doty recently suggested that the system used to look up my clearances was incorrect. My clearance levels and specific access details are not publicly accessible and require specific read-ins, which not everyone discussing my case has. Eric Davis has made erroneous claims regarding the system of record for my clearances. Such access is compartmentalized and limited to those with equivalent clearance levels. Both Mr. Doty and Mr. Davis have made significant errors in their public statements regarding my case. I urge them to retract their statements and correct the record. To everyone navigating through the intricacies of these discussions and disclosures, I appreciate your patience and diligence in seeking the truth. It's crucial that these conversations reflect the complexities and sensitivities of the issues at hand accordingly. I remain committed to transparency and the pursuit of clarity in this ongoing dialogue. And this from Jason Sands. So basically, Richard Doty, an admitted paid government disinformation agent, called bullshit on this guy. Great. And then Eric Davis, the Wackadoo, called bullshit. That's something else. Those guys are calling bullshit on this guy. And now he's sort of making these public statements to do damage control, in my opinion and estimation. Yeah, so, boy, now let's get to, I think that'll pretty much wrap up, I guess just to bookend things, I would say to anybody who's listening to this guy, I would be extremely cautious. I have one other thing to share, which is Ross Coulthart claiming that a lot of people told him about blue aliens, and Mr. Sands mentioned speaking to Ross Coulthart.
I'm talking to people at the moment, and this is creepy, but people at the moment who are contacting me, and I've had 3 do it now from all over the world, who say they've felt an urge to contact me, and they tell me that they've communicated with a blue being that has imbued them and downloaded them with information.
Could that be Jason Sands, one of those people that told him the blue alien story?
And in one case, the person developed an ability to instantaneously understand physics equations, highly complex mathematics. And I've seen them do it.
Yeah, right. This from the guy who keeps getting caught selling completely and totally fake alien stories. Just trust me, bro. People are seeing blue aliens. Yeah, Corey Good saw blue aliens too. And he made millions of dollars by some reports over an 8-year period lying to everybody. Now we've got Jason Sands picking up Corey Good material. Not a good place to be if you want to be considered credible. So I promised in my thumbnail that we're going to cover this ridiculous Christopher Mellon, ridiculous nonsense that he put out, which interestingly, essentially Christopher Mellon upset that people are putting out signals messages with him involved. I think it was like a prover maneuver, like, hey, he claims that he spoke with an intelligence officer who told him that they were hot on the trail of a UFO crash retrieval case that happened in Kingman, Arizona. But what is really interesting is that Christopher Mellon is essentially, in these signals messages, he is speaking about Kingman, Arizona, a case that has largely been debunked. 1 second. Of course, I'm having trouble finding the Christopher Mellon part of the show when I need it. Just give me one moment to find it. In the meantime, I'm going to remind you that you should follow me on Twitter. It's at Stephen Cambion on Twitter. And also, we want to remind you that if you are listening in audio podcast land, you're missing half the fun. Be sure to go on over to YouTube and put Truth Seekers, one word, in the search bar. Look for me, the strange guy with sunglasses. Smash the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and you will know when we will be doing live broadcasts, usually Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. So this is a Christopher Mellon. He's redacted things, right? And of course, Jeremy McGowan is right there to sort of correct him. We're making huge progress, says somebody that he won't name, into the crash retrieval program. He plans to meet with you at some point. Somebody would be slack-jawed if they found out what we now know. Christopher Mellon, right now we haven't gone that far back. We're dealing with a recovered UAP that landed in Kingman, Arizona in the 50s. We're vacuuming up info as so-and-so gets read in. We know the management structure and security control systems and ownership of the crash retrieval. We also know who recovers landed or crashed UAPs under what authorities. We also know that a still highly classified memo by a Secretary of the United States in the Air Force is still in effect to maintain the cover on UAPs. We also know the SES-2, who's the Air Force gatekeeper. Then he shares this document. This is cleared for open publication. It's from signals messages because he redacted whoever he's speaking to. So Christopher Mellon is going, not so fast. There's definitely people within the intelligence community that are getting the information about these real crash retrieval programs. There's just one huge problem. And that is that what they are referencing is the Kingman, Arizona case, which is a hoax. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's a hoax. That's one we did not include in our US UFO crash retrieval programs because there's so little to go on. For those unaware, the Kingman, Arizona UFO crash is a single source story. In other words, it's a story from one person who later admitted that he got drunk and lied about parts of the story, who told multiple versions of the story. There is no other evidence other than a guy telling a story of that crash. I'd be happy to be corrected into that. And I can share with you this. This is from Kevin Randall's blog, A Different Perspective. The decline and fall of ufology. I think the high point in ufology was July 1997, when the 50th anniversary of the Roswell crash was celebrated. I think that the low point, probably the lowest since 1947, in Arnold sighting was May 5th, 2015, when the fiasco of the Not Roswell slides was presented to the world. That is underscored with many UFO documentaries that now populate the popular cable channel landscape. The one I am thinking of, which I mentioned in another post that will probably annoy most of MUFON and the people in Kingman, Arizona, dealt primarily with Kingman, Arizona crash. The MJ12 SOM, or manual, and a few other ancillary issues. It was the Kingman crash that caught my attention because I have done a great deal of research into this case, and frankly, I believe it to be a hoax started by Arthur Stanzel. For those who wish to see an evolution of the case, or rather evolution of my thinking about it, and he did 3 blog posts about this, and Randall does good research generally. I know some people don't like him or have a problem with him. I think his research is usually on point. The point here is that the hangar I came up with some new information which may or may not have come from Stanzel. It is not clear, at least to me, who the source was on this. In this new version, Stanzel or someone reported that men in some sort of protective gear had entered the craft. They rushed out, all of them sick and vomiting, which I had been on the scene would have been frightening. Why were they sick? Have I been contaminated? Is it fatal? From that point, they explained how the disc, whatever it was, had been floated down the Colorado River after retrieval. Kingman is about 90 miles south of Las Vegas, and standing between Las Vegas and Kingman is the Hoover Dam. I'm not sure how they got the disc to the river and why they thought this was the best way to recover it, but that is the claim. Here's the point. The case is virtually single witness. There are others who claim to have some knowledge of it, but it all comes from hearing the story told by others. And Stanzel is not a good witness. His educational background seems to be solid. Friends who knew him believed him to be honest, and his assignments put him in the Kingman area, meaning simply he was working north of Las Vegas at that time, so he could have been involved. But as you can read yourself in previous posts, he told a couple of versions of this tale. Some of what he said seems to discredit parts of his story. More importantly, he said that he had lied to the first investigators, who were teenagers with an interest in UFOs, and he said that when he was drunk. He said that when he drank, he tended to expand upon and embellish his stories. To support the reality of the Kingman crash, they trotted out this SOM manual. For those unaware, the SOM manual is a standard operating manual that came with the MJ12 documents, and it purports to be an operating manual for what to do when you encounter alien spaceships crashes and alien bodies. The MJ12 documents are fake. So basically, you have a bullshit storyteller who admits that he embellishes and exaggerates when he's drinking, and he told 3 or 4 different versions of this story. And the proof that people put forward about this is a fake government document. Mr. Randall goes on to say, the MJ12 Group Special Operations Manual. Oh, they mentioned frequently that it was controversial, but the language and the tone told us that the controversy was unimportant. The manual contained instructions about the recovery, retrieval, and shipping of alien debris. It also suggests that the retrievals be covered by suggesting those in charge say that the debris was from a satellite. But in 1954, when the manual was allegedly created, it didn't say who had been launching these satellites. This is merely a single example of the flaws that surround the fake manual. It struck me as odd that you use a controversial manual to support the case for an alien spacecraft, which is also controversial. The manual arrived in the mail for Don Berliner, who himself said it was a hoax. There is no provenance for it, and it violates some of the standards in place in 1954 for such documents. None of this makes any difference to the true believers because they know the manual is authentic. So basically, the only thing that supports this story is a bullshit storyteller and a fake government document. Randall goes on to say, finally, to prove their case, they resorted to interviewing Cliff Stone, one of the whistleblowers, about alien visitation. You can read more about him here. Clifford Stone was a wackadoo who claimed that he was part of crash retrieval programs, but the truth is that Clifford Stone was a clerk typist in the Army for his entire career. He told multiple stories about interacting with aliens, even breaking an alien out of a government prison, and also about his psychic powers and his superpowers. Clifford Stone was a complete and total wackadoo. So if you're using Cliff Stone as a prover maneuver, that means that story is fake. There is another follow-up article about Stone from Dr. Michael Sala, but Stone sinks his own boat with his tales of dairying do in Vietnam. In one of his ridiculous tales, he talks about how he would sneak out of the camp, crawling through the wire to engage the enemy on his own. This was a recipe for suicide. Stone served Vietnam as a clerk and was not a combat soldier. The point is that this episode here was filled with information that was faulty, untrue, fabricated, unverified, or unsupported by facts. It was written in such a way as to suggest that while the authorities might deny it, those at MUFON were telling us all the truth. Just never mind that they had no real evidence for their truth and that the witnesses were less than credible. And this is why ufology is in rapid decline. It is not about the research. It is not about finding answers for the unexplained cases. And no alien visitation does not answer all the questions. There are many answers. This is about ratings and making money. Can't say I disagree. When solid evidence for a solution of the case is presented, there are always those out there who will scream cover up. That those offering answers are in the employ of the CIA, the Air Force, or even MJ-12 as a way of hiding the truth. But these programs often ignore those explanations as they underscore the alien nature of their reports. Alternatives are not offered. But nothing will change as long as there's an audience for the UFO documentaries that have no truth in them. An audience for speakers who are clearly inventing their tales, and people who buy books that do not provide solid information. We are stuck in the dark ages, and I don't see us climbing into the light anytime soon. Oh, and for those who can't deduce what I mean here, Kingman is a hoax. And the single first-hand witness said that he lied about the details. The Standard Operations 1-01 manual is a hoax and provides us with no useful information. Many of the whistleblowers who are invited to tell their tales simply don't have the credentials they claimed, weren't in the positions they claimed, or have exaggerated their knowledge. All of this creates the problem for those of us who are more interested in the truth than validating our own self-belief structures. So this is great. So it's essentially Christopher Mellon has a big bluff that no, the stories Dave Grush is telling about UFO crash retrievals are true, and I talked to an intelligence officer who is getting the information on this Kingman crash. Great, Christopher Mellon, where is it? The Kingman crash is a goddamn hoax, and the evidence for the Kingman crash that is offered is a goddamn hoax. This is the rich and powerful Christopher Mellon. How much money do you have, Christopher Mellon? Can you buy yourself a tutor in basic UFO history and mythology? You are right now promoting a proven hoax as a real crash retrieval case. You, Christopher Mellon, are a goddamn idiot. And I've often heard Mellon described as some kind of super genius of disclosure. He's truly an idiot. If he's pushing the Kingman, Arizona hoax case, and let's review. So far, Grush and Elizondo have pushed the fake Mussolini crash case, and now Christopher Mellon is pushing the fake Kingman, Arizona crash. You can't make this stuff up. Why won't that share? That's weird. Oh, there we go. Thomas Robinson with a kind and generous £3 super sticker. We want to take a moment to thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. For those unaware, we read every single super chat. If you become a YouTube channel member during our broadcast, we give you a big thank you and a shout out. And if you send a PayPal, we will praise the cash with you. We thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. I'm going to take a moment to thank some kind and generous PayPal benefactors, and then I'll take some comments and questions from the live chat. And by the way, I could offer you, I was busy today, I could offer you a great deal more proof and information that the Kingman, Arizona crash is most likely a hoax. But I encourage you to check out Mr. Randall's blog. I will tweet it on my Twitter. Be sure to follow me at Stephen Cambion. I apologize. Had a busy day today with my children. They're home all day. So I was unable to put all the links that we use tonight in the description of the video. Perhaps I'll do that after the broadcast ends. I'm trying to get into my PayPal now in order to thank you kind and generous PayPal pledgers. For those unaware, we're a viewer-supported show. And we thank every single person that sends some support our way, whether it's through PayPal, whether you become a Patreon supporter or YouTube channel member. We thank everybody. Okay. Initials DB sent a kind and generous $18.18 and says, this new non-whistleblower, Jason Sands, make David Grush. Wait, what does it say? Let me check that out. I apologize here. Some reason everything is running slow right when I need it not to. Just bear with me. And thank you, Daniel Black, for your kindness, generosity, and support. I'm trying to get to the message. One second. Maybe it'll let me if I do it another way. In the meantime, we want to thank all of you kind of generous benefactors, including you PayPal pledgers, you super chatters, super thanks people. Did you know that there's a money button down there? During the live broadcast, you can throw a couple of bucks in our hat and keep us honest here. Or you can hit the thanks button if you're watching a replay and send a couple of bucks our way. We try to thank every single person. Okay, so he says, DB, initials DB, thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. $18.18 says, this new non-whistleblower, Jason Sands, makes David Grush look like Deep Throat. I hope he told Arrow about his 20 and back secret space program experiences. And we want to thank initials CT for a kind and generous $50 PayPal pledge. And the message is simply, really enjoying your shows. Please keep it up. Thank you. Thanks to your 50 bucks, we'll be able to keep it up a little longer. And we have Maria with a kind and generous $20 PayPal pledge. No message. Maria is a longtime show supporter. Many of these people who sent us a PayPal pledge are. And we encourage you guys, if you are sending especially a big chunk of money, $50 or $100, please do it through PayPal because they only take a couple of percent. YouTube charges us 30% for those super chats. We're happy to have them, but that's pretty big vig to be paying. So we'll take comments and questions from the live chat. Please put them in all capital letters. All capital letters. I'm visually impaired. It really does help. All right. Wise Monkey is here and says, I think Sands drank a little too much Kool-Aid. Yeah, I can't say that. I can't say that I disagree with you. Sounds like he got too deep down the rabbit hole, and now he's going to be a whistleblower. What is he blowing the whistle about? Apparently, people are using. I don't know. Is he saying people are using alien crash retreat, or excuse me, alien reproduction vehicles to, like, you know, ferry drugs and weapons around, like this Michael Herrera was saying? And why is it that there's no original information? David Grush comes forward, no original information. Now this Jason Sands comes forward, no original information. And all the information they share is all shit that you and I can get on the internet, but they're supposed to have high-ranking clearances and access to all these secrets. This is the game these people play. They pretend, due to their credentials or due to their, you know, high-ranking military career, that they have access to some kind of secrets. And then all they tell us is shit that we can all find on the internet, right? Tall white aliens, 20 and back. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. Wouldn't it be possible to cross-reference the alien landing with the Stephen Greer alien communication app? I have no idea, Midwest, but thanks for your question. Patty Wilhelm is here, longtime show supporter and viewer. Welcome, Patty. Says, would love for Dr. Kirkpatrick to write a book about his encounters with UFO nutters while surfing in his previous job. Yeah. Jacques de Molay says, I love the notion that Sands can't talk about some things because they're classified, but he can talk about 20 and back as if it wouldn't be the most classified program in all of history. Hey, yeah, time travel and secret Mars alien battles are not classified at all. It's so stupid. Amy Collins says, maybe I was being a bit harsh earlier, but this degeneracy and loss of critical thinking among the populace is genuinely frightening me. Amy, if you go into the comments of the YouTube video of that Twitter Spaces Everybody's thanking this guy and calling him a hero. That's how disconnected these people. I'm just afraid that a lot of these people are just completely and totally disconnected from reality. Just totally disconnected from reality. It's disturbing. I agree with you. And I forgot, we're going to put my fair use banner back up. Filmmaker Darcy Weir asked a few questions that I forgot to share earlier in that Twitter space. So bear with me. We're going to go through those questions because I thought Darcy asked some good questions.
Yo, we need to go back and get that shit down.
Unfortunately, it was only on this channel, Rebellious Unknown, for a while because Rich, like the Rich version, got striked down because like News Nation.
Hey, I can probably. I may can reach out to Leon and get a copy of that, and incredible, no big deal.
That would be cool.
You better post that, Rob.
They're talking about the Goofy show. It got taken down because Goofy stole from News Nation.
Because he's been a really good, friend of mine all the way through this from the start. And I just was really upset to hear some of the stuff that was being thrown around.
Yeah, you were probably looking at him and seeing what was going on pretty closely with when he was coming out and getting feedback and all that shit.
Yeah, actually last year it was the same week. It was kind of weird because
so he's saying he's really good friends
I was
with
talking
Dave
to him
Grush.
on the phone, and I was just like, "Hey, Dave, I'm thinking about going public, but I'm not ready for it yet." And he's like, "Yeah, that's kind of weird. I'm thinking about that too." And then he actually did, and I was like, "Wow, cool! You're my hero."
Dave Grush is
and
this
so here
guy's
I am
hero.
this year, following in his footsteps. So I think it's appropriate.
Yeah, following his footsteps of telling evidence-free
Darcy, what's up,
stories for money.
Yo, oh my God. This is a momentous occasion. Jason, thank you so much for stepping up and out like this. It's
come on, Darcy. What's
pretty surprising.
20 and back bullshit?
I totally agree with like Courtney and other folks. It is the shot in the arm that we needed right now.
Yeah.
I'm a fellow researcher, as many people in this room are, documentarian. I'm excited to see your testimony included in the new documentary that James Fox is releasing.
Good point.
But couple questions for you. First of all, if you can elaborate, what was the impetus for you coming forward so early? I think Courtney kind of touched on that. And yeah, go ahead, and then I'll just ask the other quick questions if you don't mind.
Well, I guess to add on to what I was saying before is just that I've been working towards going public for probably about a year and a half, all told. Tonight was kind of something I've been thinking about for quite a while because I've been seeing the interest is still there, and the conversation was really very good at the start here on this particular podcast, and I really appreciated it. And I thought, well, this is kind of what the kind of form that
This was not a planned outing. He just joined his space and started telling his stories.
You guys in the public really need to start hearing the, I guess, informed version of everything, rather, because I felt so bad over the past year hearing some of the podcasts, and I'm just like, gee, I really wish I could go and talk, but I just didn't have all of my ducks lined up to go public yet. And I would just be like, oh wow, that's just really off base, and they should be talking this way about it.
Can't say I disagree with you,
and that's one of the reasons, that's really what I'm doing here. So to add to what I said before, is that's another big motivator, is just that I really feel like I want to give some context, at least from my point of view.
How about you give some evidence?
I'll at least give you my opinion as to what I think I was hearing and the things that I had experienced. And at least you'll hear it from a firsthand person. And I'll give you my best shot. I'll be as honest as I can.
Yeah, but you can't tell us where you work right now,
guys. And that's another big motivator. But I think just that one thing, that if I was never in the program, I would appreciate somebody like myself coming forward to help at least give some context. So that's another big motivator.
How about you give evidence? I don't care about context. I want to see evidence of your claims.
And kudos for you for standing up for David Grush in the middle of the troll posse over at Goofbones Radio bullshit show. He's a total piece of garbage in my opinion. But
I thought it was humorous. It was very, very humorous to me. But at the same time, they did have some good points as well. But yeah.
Darcy's shitting all over the Goofy show. Can't say I disagree with Darcy there.
Okay. Anyways, the other question I had for you, you said you stood within feet of a non-human intelligence. Was this like your typical gray? And
no, it was.
My second question is, you said 1954 was really when this kicked off. Were the NHIs involved from the beginning, or did they come in years later or before the program?
I think that it's possible that our government had some previous
run by the biggest goof in UFOs.
But I do believe that in 1954 that the program was stood up officially, and has been.
Yeah, what's his evidence that the program was stood up in 1954? Trust me, bro.
So, as for the person I met in the desert, that was 3 feet away from me, he to me, his skin looked the same as what an albino would have, very, very pale white.
Tall white.
And he was a little bit shorter than me. I stand about 6 foot. He was a few inches shorter, maybe 5'6", 5'7".
Talk about context.
So
I
had a very good look at him. I think people have asked me about it before, and I would say he probably looks more like a tall white than he does anybody else, but the ears are something that really threw me off.
So he looks like a fictional race.
When,
the alien looked like a fictional race of aliens created by a hoaxer, con artist,
and by the way,
scammer.
He's working his butt off right now trying to get that film finished up.
Yeah, James is awesome. Jason, real quick, just on the points you just made. So even someone who's into the topic like myself, when I hear people make delineations between like races, between the Nordics or the tall whites, that is like, wait, what? And I guess just given your background and like your experience in these departments, can you shed any light on maybe where your opinions or your
he was watching the UFO wackadoos on YouTube. That's where his knowledge comes from.
During the interview process, there was a lot of pointed questions about my encounter in the desert with this individual, and I'm never going to claim to be an expert and have like a catalog of exactly what.
Better late than never. Thor socks welcome.
With the human race are. All I can tell you is what I've seen and experienced myself. So, this individual had that albino-looking skin, had a blue under that skin. It was a bluish kind of a tinge. He had earlobes, but they were conformed to his skull, so they weren't sticking out at all like ours do. And his eyes were twice the size of ours. And the corners of his eyes were probably about where our temples are.
That's so stupid, says Craig
that's how
William.
big they were.
Can't say I disagree.
And the irises were similarly large and very dark.
So here's what we're going to get from another whistleblower.
Or
great story.
Right, but
got any evidence? No.
So why do you describe that?
Trust me,
a tall
I'm an Air Force guy.
Nordic, or like your knowledge on those delineations or the grays or the ebens or whatever. Where does that come from?
Well, there's
exactly Richard
two
Warner,
sources,
but they're not.
And that is one is my own, listening to telecommunications within the program. The tall whites were mentioned and the grays. At that point, though, I had not seen what.
So intelligence officers are mentioning a fictional race of aliens called tall whites, which was invented by and put forward by a stolen valor fraud fake Air Force officer who was never in the Air Force. Regardless of why, that is problematic. Why are people in the government discussing in intergovernment communications fake races of aliens created by hoaxers? It's incredible.
a tall white or a gray looked like. So I assumed that this person that I had met was white. So I assumed he was a tall white, not knowing exactly what they look like and not having, been around them all my life. I just didn't know. So
I just didn't know when I met the tall white alien, that's a fake alien race, that he was a tall white alien. But inter-office communications between government officials discussed the tall whites, so I made that conclusion.
I called him a tall white. But then during the interviewing process, somebody else said he could have been a hybrid, and I don't know why they said that.
He's a hybrid now.
I've heard that.
Maybe he's a blue avian tall white hybrid. He's got feathers and white skin.
Yeah, and it could have been for all I know.
Dumb fairy tales.
I had no other context in seeing.
All right, we've shared quite enough. This person is clearly pulling from existing UFO stories and mythology. Many of them discredit stories from UFO mythology. And, I think that the warning signs are all in place. I mentioned also that this person curiously, look, we got to thank Charlie Weiser, who caught something extremely interesting. We may know where he works now. From his Facebook page, I am the lead instructor for U.S. Cybercom, U.S. Stratacom, and the NSA. He updated his bio with this description in March of 2017. So there we have it. I think we have the exclusive. He refused to answer where he works. Charlie Weiser, excellent researcher and friend of the show. Charlie Weiser sussed it out that apparently on his Facebook page, this person, Mr. Sands, claims, quote, I am the lead instructor for U.S. Cybercom, Stratacom, and NSA. He updated his bio with this information in March of 2017. That's extremely interesting to me. I'm going to retweet this. UFO Twitter, UFO X, and I'm going to @ Stephen Greenstreet. Oh, wait a minute. It's Middle of Mayhem. I always make that mistake. Middle of Mayhem. Mr. Sands claims he works for the NSA. All right, so now we know. But what I was saying is, yes, Chuck Bam says, I see tall whites at Walmart. Yeah, I see short whites at Walmart too, and tall blacks and short blacks and tall browns and short browns. Yeah. So I wanted to make the point, however, that since 2017, the UFO community has been inundated with intelligence officers for the former intelligence officers, many of which have had training in areas that I would say are concerning. For example, remember our coverage of the Miss Angelina Schultz, also known as Anjali. She worked for the Defense Intelligence Agency. And do you know what her specialty was? Information warfare. Now we've got, and of course, we've got John Ramirez, who worked for the CIA. We've got John D'Souza, who worked for the FBI. There has been an infiltration of, I call them alphabet soup agencies, whether it's DIA, NSA, DIA, CIA, FBI. We in the UFO community have been infiltrated by an entire group of former spooks that all have training in things that I would find concerning. This Mr. Sands has had training in psychological operations. Whoa, that's weird. And of course, Angelina Schultz worked for the Defense Intelligence Agency, and her role was as an information warfare specialist or PSYOP specialist. This should concern all of us. Imagine if any other, imagine if the cosplay or whatever other community, Dungeons and Dragons community, just suddenly got invaded by a whole bunch of DIA, FBI, CIA, NSA people, intelligence people, who all infiltrated a weird subculture. That would be front page news story. That would be on CNN and MSNBC. Like, what are all these intelligence people doing in the Dungeons and Dragons community or in the cosplay community? But somehow it's just perfectly acceptable that all of these spooks and intelligence people, and of course, Mr. Lou Elizondo famously said, I'm a counterintelligence officer. He's a professional liar. All of these people are professional liars, trained professional liars. So what is going on that there's all these intelligence people infiltrating the United States government? Of course, Dave Grush also, during his training in the Air Force, worked in information warfare. What is going on here? And why is it that anybody that has military experience or intelligence experience is just believe that they're all telling the truth? I do not believe it. Yeah. If Sands never held the positions he claims, then those agencies should be publicly disavowing him. But if he did work for any of them, they should have to explain why they employ such wingnuts. Well, I'll tell you what, Jacques Desmoulins, tomorrow morning, as soon as it's business hours, I intend to call NSA, find a media relations person, and ask them to verify Mr. Sands' employment claims on his Facebook page. I think that's the least that they could do, is either confirm or deny that he is currently or was at one time employed with them. And why is he out here lying that he was part of UAPTF? Why is he out here lying that he worked in signals intelligence when apparently he did not, according to his own military document, which he released? But then he's saying that he is the lead instructor for U.S. Cybercom, U.S. Stratacom, and the National Security Agency. Thanks. Charlie Weiser is telling me that Twitter won't let me send a link to Jason's Facebook page where I got the bio info. Can you email that to me? I will call NSA to confirm. Oh, send us a DM in Discord. Oh, awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Charlie Weiser, friend of the show. Give us a lead there for some investigation. And I'm here to tell you, look, we've covered David Grush for almost a year now. I'm covering this guy. Anything he says, we'll investigate it. All right, we'll take a few more comments and questions. Why on earth would you trust our government with the way they manipulate this space alone? That's a very good point. Jacques says, or Sands is just a disinformation plant. Those agencies should explain why they're wasting funds on deliberately confusing the public. Yeah. I think I'm going to do a whole show, Jacques, just about the number of intelligence community officials that have infiltrated the UFO community. It's concerning to me. Wise Monkey says some signals work as automatically intel if they're working on adversary interceptions, etc. Oh, thanks for that. Yeah, I have somebody that I know from Navy intelligence, and when I have questions about intelligence things, I usually reach out to him. I'm going to be calling him and talking to him about this individual and some of the claims that he has made. Wise Monkey says it's just a military day job in reality. All those guys on AWACS. Yeah. Ask if he went to Mars for 20 years. I'll do that. So listen, we're almost 3 hours in here. We've done our due diligence. I want to apologize for my lack of being really available over this past weekend. For those unaware, I'm trying to build a cabin porch for my wife. She's always wanted a covered porch. We don't really have a place to put a covered porch at our normal home. So I'm trying to build a covered porch at the patio, and really focused on that this last weekend and sort of disconnected. And I got to tell you, I feel good doing that. I can't be so connected to this shit show 7 days a week. It's starting to drive me crazy. I need a break, and the cabin is a nice break. I get outside, I work with my hands, and I turn off the internet, and I just listen to music, and I work on the cabin, which is a big goal of mine, to finish that place. It's coming along. I think another couple weekends, I might have a porch roof, maybe 3. I'm thinking 4, 5 max. I could never tell. You never know. Sometimes I go to the cabin and it rains all weekend and I get nothing done outside. Arlene Atkins Zell is here and says, good night, y'all. Yeah, so we're gonna wrap things up here. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us. And we want to thank all of you kind and generous benefactors one more time. I'll be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, my health situation allowing. I got a strep throat, so I'm feeling not so good right now, but I'm hoping after, some hot tea and some more meds in me and a good night of rest, and my voice should hold out for another show tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern. I'll be here, I think, and I hope that you will be here with us 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow night, and of course Thursday night as well. I've got some great new shows planned for you. I'm hoping to finish this Murder in UFO Land. We're going to do that on Thursday, I hope. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, we'll have some more fun things to talk about. To wrap things up, I would advise a strong amount of caution to anybody believing this so-called whistleblower, because here we have yet another person claiming the title of whistleblower without actually blowing any whistles. Well, except in a for-profit documentary where you can hear about his encounter with an alien. Great. I truly worry about some of these true believers. Like, if this is enough to, because once again, we have somebody come along to confirm what everybody thinks is true. Everybody thinks alien crash retrievals are happening. Everybody thinks alien back engineering is happening. And along comes this high-ranking military officer who tells you all of it's true. We do have aliens, and we do have alien spacecraft. And they all have no evidence, but somehow we go, this guy's a hero. This guy's not a hero. He's a zero so far. And in fairness to him, I would welcome him here to have an engaging and interesting and respectful conversation. But I don't think that's going to happen. I would ask him really hard questions. Like, how much money did you get paid to be in James Fox documentary? And why can't you talk about that? Are you trying to, make everybody wait and pay the money to hear your story in James Fox documentary? And I'd have 100 really difficult questions for him to answer. I would press him and push him on the fact that he's claiming things, that he took part in programs that were inventions of fiction by a known UFO scammer, Corey Goode. Or why is he talking about tall white aliens when the originator of them was a fake Air Force weather observer that was never in the Air Force? It's all fruit from poison trees with this guy so far. So I would advise everybody, I would strongly caution you to be conservative in your belief of this person until such time as he actually shows real evidence. Because if he has no evidence, just like Grush, then this is another nothing burger. And haven't we had enough nothing burgers since 2017? We've got the Lou Elizondo nothing burger, the fake Pentagon program director. We've got the TTSA nothing burger. Remember all their promises? We're going to build a spaceship, and we have parts of alien crash retrieval pieces. No, you didn't. It came from a missile casing, you assholes. But hey, that didn't stop them from allegedly defrauding the public out of several millions of dollars, right? And then we get the Anjali nothing burger. Remember how excited everybody was about Anjali? I got something crazy early in our show, like 1,000 live viewers to hear an interview with her. People were so excited about her talking to these aliens. Nobody stopped to investigate her claims. We did, and we proved all of her claims with the help of some researchers like Charlie Weiser and James A. Conrad and others. We proved that her entire original story was completely and totally fake. Right? So that was a nothing burger. We've got John Ramirez nothing burger, Stephen Greer nothing burgers, Dave Grush nothing burger, and now, so far, Jason Sands. But in fairness to him, he has only been claiming the title of a whistleblower, which I don't think he is. The overuse of the term whistleblower in the UFO community needs to stop. Whistleblowers have evidence. Whistleblowers have consequences for violating their NDAs, violating their security oaths, or whatever. Nobody in UFO land that claims the title of whistleblower ever faces any consequences, other than people throwing lots of UFO dollars at them to be in TV shows and documentaries and sell books and UFO conventions. That's not a consequence. That's a profit-driven motive. And we should all carefully, critically evaluate the claims of these people. We can't just believe this guy because he happened to be in the Air Force. There have been a multitude of examples of people that have real and verified military credentials that were still wackadoos who sold completely and totally fake stories. Bob Dean, Wendell Stevens, Clifford Stone, and many others. And of course, Philip Corso. Just because they were in the military and they're telling you stories you like about aliens doesn't mean they're telling you the truth. You know what would mean they're telling you the truth? Evidence. But we don't get evidence in UFO land. We just get stories, right? And more documentaries to buy and more books to buy and online conferences and courses. And it's all profit driven so far, near as I can tell. We should be cautiously optimistic about the claims that people are making, regardless of their military credentials, regardless of them being an intelligence officer. They all play this game of, I was at the right place at the right time. I had these high-ranking top secret clearances, and I seen some shit. And for a fee, I will tell you about the shit I saw. And the fee could be anything from a documentary to a book that they're selling to come see me at this UFO conference, and I'm giving a lecture about the things I saw. But they never deliver. Do you ever notice that? It's overpromise. We've talked about this so many times. All these people overpromise, and they inevitably underdeliver, and then comes the big letdown. If all this guy's got is a story about seeing some alien somewhere, and he has no evidence to back it up other than his claims, then the story is worthless. It has no value. I can't do anything with somebody that's just telling me a story and has no evidence. But it will certainly drive a profit-driven something like a documentary whose aim is to be as sensational as possible. We've seen James Fox too. He has a terrible track record of over-promising and under-delivering. In his last documentary, he all but promised us he's got a video of an alien, a vagina alien, Virginia alien. I always call it the vagina case, the vagina alien case. And, James Fox is another one. He's an intellectual weakling and a coward. He blocked me because I demanded to see evidence that his new so-called witnesses in his documentary actually existed. I offered to sign an NDA which I would verify those people, but not reveal who they were. If he really cared about, if this was really about protecting sources, he wouldn't even speak to me. He blocked me for suggesting that a UFO profiteering whore might have gone as far as, faking fake witnesses and using voice disguisers and shadow and shit. Like nobody's ever done that before to sell a documentary, Victor, right? Oh, and that's another thing. I want to put two things on the record. This John, who is making this Hunting Victor documentary, he's been a guest here before. He keeps adding me like, yeah, go after those scammers. No offense, John. I think you're one of them. The Victor alien interview case has been debunked out the wazoo. And everybody involved in that was a proven UFO scammer. But you somehow want to pretend that your case is credible and everybody else is lying. No, we showed on our show here how that so-called alien was a puppet and they had a shirt sleeve hanging down on one side. Clearly, I'm an expert in puppets. I'm telling you it was a puppet. He doesn't believe me. Oh, it couldn't be a puppet. If I have time just for shits and giggles, I'm going to make a replica of that puppet and show John how anybody could fake an alien with that. And he's coming up with all these dots and, no offense, just because you survived an interview with me doesn't mean that your bullshit isn't bullshit too. And the other thing I just want to put on the record is that we did a commentary over Linda Moulton Hale claiming to be an Egyptian princess in her past lives, and it was from UAMN TV. They sent me a nasty message, essentially threatening to copyright claim me for that broadcast, and then they followed through with that threat, and they falsely copyrighted my copyright claimed my channel. Basically saying, well, you can leave that on your channel, but we're taking the revenue from that because you used our copyrighted material. So I filed the appeals, and I'm telling them I will go to court to defend my right to fair use. That was a clear case of fair use. They're trying to steal my time and energy. Apparently, what they're saying is we're allowed to put evidence-free claims on YouTube from our wackadoos like Linda Moulton Hale, but you're not allowed to play clips of that and make fun of it or critique it or do commentary over it. That's not how the copyright system works, dude. We verbally cited fair use. There was a fair use banner on the bottom of the screen the whole time we were using clips. I stopped it every so often and talked over it. It's clearly a transformative work. We clearly used it for educational purposes. They will lose this false copyright claim, and I will fight them to the ends of the earth. And by the way, they host a lot of wackadoos and frauds, right? Like David Adair. We're going to cover that one. And they can falsely copyright claim me again, and I will fight that claim. Then we're going to cover some of the other wackadoos that they have on that channel and prove that they're literally pushing completely and totally fake, false narratives and stories for money. And we're going to do it under fair use, and then I will vigorously and aggressively defend our rights to freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and the right to use copyrighted material under the spirit of fair use. I'm not backing down to somebody that's making tens of thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands of dollars selling fake stories. If you're going to put fake stories on YouTube, I'm allowed to play clips from your fake as shit stories and talk about them, clowns. So congratulations for falsely copyright claiming me. Now I'm going to cover more of your bull. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? So maybe not the desired effect. And for those unaware, these copyright vultures like UAM NTV, pardon me, they think that they can put completely fake people telling completely fake stories on YouTube and that I'm not allowed to use their clips. I'm here to tell you, yes, I am. And now that you got my attention, I'm going to find the time. I'm going to cover a UAM TV bullshit session once a week if I can find the time. Congratulations, you dummies. And I've got a fair use defense letter standing by. And as I told them in my appeal, I will go to court in the state of Pennsylvania and I will win. No judge will rule against us in what we're doing here, because what we do is clearly legal, allowable by law, and fair use. You will lose. But hey, I'll buy you a cheesesteak and some pretzels since you're in the great state of Pennsylvania. Maybe some, root beer, whatever you want. I'll buy you lunch for the days that we do the court case, right? And by the way, I've won, I think it's 27, 28, 29 of these appeals. We win every single one. I have very good lawyer letters. And lawyer letters are standing by UAM TV, so don't try to threaten or intimidate me. That what they want is they want to steal the revenue of somebody like me. Like, go ahead, cover it, but we're keeping the money. No, you are not stealing money out of my pocket, you clowns. And that's how I feel about it. We will vigorously and aggressively defend our right to fair use. What we do is clearly fair use. So anyway, friends, I just wanted to put that on the record, let you all know that scummy channel is filing false copyright claims against us for doing nothing wrong. They're making false claims against myself, my company, and my show. We don't take that lightly, right? And we'll aggressively defend our position. So anyway, friends, we've done our due diligence. We're going to bounce on out of here, but I'll be back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you'll be here with us. So that's all I got for you, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.